All right, Chris Lapre,
Yes, sir.
man, great to have you.
Dude, I couldn't be happier to be here, man. With good people, good friend of mine's here, so
Well, and
excited.
with this place, I know you've been walking around all morning, and
Listen,
you're a great like wealth of knowledge and history with a lot of these.
yeah, man. I mean, I've been a gun nerd since I was a kid, so this is playtime for this is Disneyland, man.
Yeah,
So
I think I first met you probably about 8 years ago at one of Vickers' Latham course in Casa Grande.
2017, did we figure it out?
Yeah, I think
It
is
was
around
certainly,
there.
which
And
is yeah,
yeah, and you so kind of before we get into it, you've been run that out there for a long time, right? You've been
yeah. I mean, we'll get into it, but like 2003 was the first class I hosted out there.
wow.
So what, 23 years now.
Yeah,
It's
that's
been
awesome.
Casa Grande Police Department range is pretty well known, and
Yeah.
it's very interesting, man. It's you've been to Casa Grande.
Hmm.
We call it Casa Grandistan, right?
Yeah.
And it's amazing that that range has that much acceptance and
Hmm.
notoriety.
Yeah.
It's really interesting
There's
to
been
see.
some amazing people out there. I mean, in
Yeah,
23 years, I'm sure you've seen just,
everybody and anybody for the
hmm,
most part,
yeah,
except probably some of the most recent guys that are popping up, but a lot of those guys would be on the schedule anyway. So
yeah.
it's amazing, man. It's been a really cool journey because prior to this, a few years ago, I had a guy I ran into at Psionics Weapon Systems. I was
Hmm.
down there looking at something, and this guy's like, "Hey, man, you don't remember me, do you?" And I'm like, "I don't forget faces. I remember your face, but I have no idea where I met you at."
Yeah.
He's like, "Man, you started hosting classes years ago, and you kind of set the tone." This and he's talking about 2004, 2005. He goes, he runs a gun store or something in Tucson. I wish I could remember his name. I don't. And he's like, around the country kind of followed suit. People were
Hmm.
like, "Hey, man, they're doing it out here. Why don't we do it here?" He goes, and you have no idea how much training you brought to the civilian side
Hmm.
for nationally,
Hmm.
because Casa Grande is one of those cool places. Like, it's a PD range, it's police department's range, but they allow good American citizens to come out of that range and train with cops, military guys, whoever. So it's very unique that we had that opportunity. And man, I've met people from all over,
Hmm.
and some of them become really, really good friends just from that shooting connection.
Hmm. That's awesome.
It's pretty neat, man. It's
Very
pretty neat.
cool.
You know.
Well, for the people out there listening and watching, so Chris has been 27 years in law enforcement, worked in Massachusetts, and then
Yep.
he moved out to transferred to Arizona in 1999. You've worked police department, PD, state, um, county, served on two task force
Yes, sir.
forces, SWAT team member for 17 and a half years. Um Medal of Valor recipient for a successful hostage rescue, unit citation out of SWAT, and then you retired at the rank of lieutenant, and you're currently a reserve deputy in the training division.
Yeah, I'm still with Pinal County as a deputy now. I lost my rank, man. I'm back to being a worker,
Back
dude.
to, yeah.
Yeah. Um, Kind of always, grew up was born in Rhode Island, but everybody's like, "Oh, where's Rhode Island again?" That little
Yeah,
one up
yeah.
in the corner, And moved to Massachusetts as very young. So to me, I'm just born and raised Massachusetts. Um, Moved to a small town outside of Boston called Attleboro.
Mm-hmm.
It's back then it was probably I'm going to say 25,000 people, 25,000 people, small town. Grew up, had a great family. My dad was kind of like one of my heroes,
Mm-hmm.
just a hard dude, disciplinarian. And when I say disciplinarian, he was hard, but he was fair, and he
Mm-hmm.
was a good dad. Grew up on some nothing like acreage, but I think we had like an acre and a half, something like that, and it abutted up against the woods. So spent my time out doing cool guy stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but building forts, wearing camouflage, doing kid stuff, that unfortunately a lot of kids don't get to do today.
Yeah.
Um, Stayed there, went to middle school, high school, and then right around 1996, I would have been, what, 20. So I started in Massachusetts. You could be a cop back then at 90. I'm sorry, at 18.
18.
The year I turned 18, they bumped it to 19. So, uh, good old Massachusetts in their taxation, you paid a fine, which back then, not a fine, but a tally to test for civil service,
Mhm.
and it was, God, it was like $75, which back then, man, was a lot of
Yeah, a
money,
lot, yeah.
you know. And of course, when I turned 19 or turned 18, they didn't reimburse me because they turned the age to 19, so they kept my $75. So Massachusetts owes me a lot in back
With interest.
With interest. They owe me a lot in back interest. Turned 19 and really wanted to do something. One, I looked at college, but I'm just, kind of like you were talking about, man, flying the airplane is like, I don't need that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And decided to test. Massachusetts back then was very, very hard to get hired at because it was civil service. You would have to put in for your top 3 agencies, and if you didn't get number 1, the chances of you getting hired at number 2 or number 3 was pretty low. So I started looking at every option, and I applied with a college police department, and got hired there. Started the academy in, I think it was 1996 because it was a long academy. Late 96, graduated in 97. So technically, I've been a cop since 1997.
Wow.
Boring job, right? A college campus, going to college parties, breaking up college parties. Nothing super exciting, but it was still the forefront to where I'm at now. I knew it's where I wanted to go. I just wanted to do it at a higher level, we'll say. Flew out to, well, let me back that up. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I just did you have a brother too that was in law enforcement with you?
That's what I was. So my brother was a city cop in Franklin, Massachusetts.
Okay.
And when my parents retired, my dad had to retire early because he had a heart attack and stuff like that. So the weather didn't do well for him and stuff, shoveling snows. So they decided, hey, we're going to go out to Arizona. And ended up retiring out in Arizona. My brother's like, hey, I'm going to go with mom and dad. He's my older brother. I had a girlfriend at the time that would be my wife, my ex-wife now. But so he goes with my parents. I stay behind. And I'm working at this agency. It's, again, a college agency, nothing too crazy. And fly out to see my parents. My brother's like, hey, man, I'm working for this agency out here. It's really busy. It's completely different law enforcement than what we did back east. It's crazy. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, I know what Franklin PD does, man. It's whatever. And he's like, no, you should really come and do a ride along. I'm like, no, I'm not moving out here, man. I'm going to stay back east and be out there. Well, fast forward a year, and April 1st of 1998, we get 4.5 feet of snow on the ground. And it's the April Fool's storm, we called it. And I'm directing traffic, and I'm like, this sucks.
Arizona's looking pretty good right now, isn't it?
Yeah. And I call my brother up. He's like, man, it's like 95 out here and beautiful. And sends me a picture of him on patrol in shorts. And I'm just like, okay. So I go, hey, are you guys hiring? He's like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm going to give it a shot. I fly out. Small town called Casa Grande. At the time, it was right around 23,000 people, and pretty small for what you're used to, like compared to Metropolis, Phoenix. And I get out there, and my brother worked a swing shift. Get in, go to briefing, and it's like immediately out the door, hot tone, this call, that call. And we're just running call to call, and I'm like, whoa, man, this is what being a cop is like to me. We're going to stabbings, we're going to shootings. And I'm like, man, I can't believe a town this small would have such violence. Well, kind of once we get into it, I'll explain where it sits for the people that don't know. So I mean, like, second or third call out of the night, we go to a shooting, and my brother rolls up and he's talking to this dude, gangbanger. And my brother's like, hey, man, who did this? And the guy's like, F you, I'm not working with the cops. Non-life threatening wound. He's talks to medics. He's like, hey, what's the deal there? We'll patch him up. We'll take him to the ER. And he's like, hey, man, I need your date and date of birth and name and all this guy. And the guy's like, F you, you know, through historical stuff. My brother knows who the guy is. He's like, oh, that's, you know,
Mhm.
Chris Lapre, and he's not going to cooperate. He's a East Side blood or whatever.
Mhm.
So they send this dude to the hospital. My brother writes a CAD comment in his MDC, and we're on to the next call. And I'm like, what? This dude's non-compliant freaking victim. We're not going to waste our time. I'm like, you're that busy? He's like, yeah. Next thing you know, hot tone, stabbing, and I'm like, this is freaking awesome. Finish that up that night. I come back and I'm like, man, I think this is where I want to be, you know? So start the process for testing. And back then, now you've probably seen it too, as things progress. I think it's the same out here. They kind of looked at it nationally and said, hey, if you fall within these credit hours or this curriculum, you can lateral from Massachusetts to Arizona or California to Texas, wherever. You just have to meet the needs of that post curriculum. Back then, you couldn't do that. So it takes me about 8 months to get hired, flying back and forth. And I get my academy date, and I'm like, man, this is not good. This is the middle of July in Arizona.
Oh, yeah, in Arizona.
So girlfriend, wife, and I at the time drive across country, find our apartment, and I show up to the academy day one, July 7th, 1999.
Oh,
and it's about hell +3 outside, you know? And that kind of started my Arizona career right there. It's a great time.
That's awesome. I was wondering earlier when he said things are different out here, when you were still up in Massachusetts, like, did he elaborate any on it then? Like, was it like the Wild West compared to what you had normally been?
So you've been around a long time, and you understand there's different law enforcement, right? There's the Northeast law enforcement where it's very family, like, hey, it's generational. And then you start to move south and west, and it still has that close cop connection. And the further west you go, you get towards what I call the California method, where it's just like, hey man, we're going to hire people based off of this curriculum, and there's no family connection, right? Very much like that. Cops are there to work, and anybody has the opportunity to get hired. It doesn't have to be my brother's best friend that knows the chief that makes a phone call. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because there were some great cops back east for sure.
Oh yeah.
But it's a different type. Like, I try and tell guys today, I'm like, hey man, cops back east still take care of each other, if that makes sense, for the most part, right? And it kind of dwindles as you come across the country.
And I think those attitudes too, the attitude that I've seen, like East Coast, is very much more just kind of a laid back, kind of flowing attitude, where
shirts unbuttoned, chains out.
Where and things just kind of move differently at different speeds than what happens in Texas, Oklahoma, Arizona.
Yes. One of the big things too was you see it out. I don't know how Oklahoma is. I don't have a lot of knowledge of like Oklahoma law enforcement other than the few guys I've trained with. Texas is pretty good, but like in Arizona, you're a cop and you get stopped, there's a 50% chance you're going to get a ticket if you're doing something wrong, right? And I don't mean criminally. I mean speeding. There's run a stop sign. Massachusetts, New England area, at least back when I was there, if you did that to another cop, man, you were on the outs. Not saying it's right or wrong. It's just different. You know? One of the big issues that I really went through and I struggled with, and it's going to sound weird, I'm going through my testing process, right? Arizona is a polygraph state. Massachusetts, they're not allowed to be issued for hiring, right? No idea what a polygraph is. Fly out, and I'm doing my background questionnaire, and they start asking me, like, have you ever taken coffee from a restaurant and not paid for it? And I'm like, cops don't pay for coffee. You know what I mean? It's just, that's the way it is back there. Because a lot of what it is families own Dunkin' Donuts, and they have families that are cops, right? And the cops all go to the Dunkin' Donuts. So I start thinking about it and I'm like, man, like, am I going to fail this polygraph based off of the fact that you go into a Dunkin' Donuts and try and pay for coffee and they're like, your money's no good here, get out of here.
Yeah.
And so I disclose that on the polygraph and the guy's like, well, how many times have you done this? Like, every day. And he's like, oh man. And so they bring me in and they talk to me about it. I'm like, look, man, it's just a thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, the people that own the Dunkin' Donuts in my area, they have family that is cops, and it's just the money's no good. I'm not doing it because I'm like, hey, give me my coffee.
Yeah.
That's just the way it
Not
is.
getting in uniform, going on my days off down to get a
I'm
free
not
cup
like,
of
hey
coffee.
man, I need 4 coffees for my kids, a dozen donuts.
Yeah.
It's not like that. And they're like, okay, we understand where you're coming from. So I get through that and I come out, and that was one of the things that I didn't understand, right? So that was one of the differences in that whole family connection is I think different. And when he said, hey, it's different out here, is what he meant. So then started there, went through the academy. The heat absolutely sucked, you know, and I will tell you, I still prefer the heat over the bitter cold. It's tolerable. But went to Castle Grande PD, started FTO October 16th, 1999, because I always remember this because 1016 is the code for crazy person. And our class lieutenant was like, you guys are going to be class 1016 on 1999. You're the crazy class. And just kind of stuck. Graduation date. And back then, like, you graduated. I graduated at 1400 on like a Thursday night I don't remember. And that later, literally, I was on shift that night. I came in at midnight instead of 2100, but I was on shift. Brand new guy. Yeah, I've been a cop. We'll call it a cop, right? Nothing like I experienced in my first 3 or 4 months on the job.
Wow.
And got a couple of guys. They've been cops for a while. They know my brother. You know, so it's like, oh, here comes little Lapre, and the hazing starts, and hopefully, and man, my brother's a great cop, right? Like, he's a phenomenal street cop. He went on to Arizona Highway Patrol and became nationally recognized interdiction officer.
Nice.
So I kind of had this image to live up to, you know. I'm sure we'll get into that, but start on there. Absolutely horrible time on FTO. Did not do well on FTO just because you'll laugh, but I got extended on FTO because I couldn't find my way around the damn town.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything. I think it's based off similar out here. Everything's on a grid.
Yep.
Man, where I worked, it was like, hey, go down to this corner, take a right. It's the 4th house on the left. You're like, all right, cool. I know where Johnny lives. You know, wasn't like that out here. Ended up getting through FTO fine, but I got extended. It's kind of a joke. You know? I couldn't find my way. I didn't know north and south. Failed land nav, whatever you want to say, you know. And then proceeded to go to graveyards probably for a year and a half. And it was just wild, man. The amount of violence I saw in that town in my first 18 months was unlike anything I'd ever seen. It was something like well over a dozen homicides in my first 18 months.
Wow.
And, you know, for a new guy that I'm at this point, I'm 23 years old, and coming from a very slow environment, that was an eye opener. But I knew, like, man, this is being a cop, right? Like, you feel like you're making a difference. You're out there catching bad guys. You're getting in fights, and just a phenomenal time right off the bat. And
Casa Grande, just for geography, it's just south of Phoenix, correct? Or is it?
Yes, the city of Casa Grande sits pretty much almost center between Phoenix and Tucson at the I-8, I-10 interchange. So we have 2 major highways. We have 4 major state routes, and we're surrounded by, I think, 3 reservations. And for those that don't know, reservations are some of the most violent areas in the country. So we had just this melting pot of everything and anything. And then we'll talk about this also, but the western part of Pinal County, which abutted up against Casa Grande, was a huge huge smuggling corridor for narcotics. So we had that influence. We had a huge gang population, you name it, Mexican gangs, black gangs, white gangs, mixed gang, biker gangs. So just this huge melting pot of anything and everything you could imagine.
Yeah, I'm sure you had all the gangs from LA moving west. You had all the everything moving up from Mexico.
Yep.
And it's kind of like Oklahoma City, being the crossroads of America. Everything comes through here, and you're on that pathway.
Yeah.
What was Phoenix pretty hot at that time?
Oh yeah, so Phoenix was right in the middle of the same thing, right? The gang culture from California was starting to infiltrate. Not starting to, it was pretty well established, but that violence level was increasing and it was starting to bleed down into Casa Grande. So when I got there, late 99 into 2000, we started to see a pretty significant gang war between the Bloods and the Crips. And people are like, oh, it's a small town. They're there.
Yeah.
Right. And those are two violent factions of gangs. And started having homicides and shootings, and to the point where they brought in, state formed a task force. It was called Get 'em. At that time, it was GITEM. It stood for gang. What the hell was it? I just blanked out it. Gang Intelligence Team Enforcement Mission.
Okay.
And start that, and their primary focus was like South Phoenix, Casa Grande, and they were based out of DPS. So they were regional. They had a northern Get 'em and a Pinal Get 'em and central Get 'em. And our central or Pinal Get 'em guys were very busy. And again, I kind of looked at that and I'm like, hey man, that's a direction I want to go, which I ended up at later on in my career. But primarily targeting Bloods and Crips at that time. The Mexican gangs were there, but I don't think at that point the cartel influence had really come in and started to give them that hey man, let's be an assertive force in this area. And it was primarily this 29 Swans and Grape Street Crips had come over had factions in Casa Grande.
Wow.
Yeah, so very interesting times.
And then your brother went on to the highway patrol.
Yes. So my brother left Casa Grande in, I think, 2000. Right after I got there, probably 6 months, maybe almost a year. So he was badge 148. I was badge 158. 10 badge numbers apart. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's just cool.
He went on Arizona DPS, and I stayed behind with Casa Grande for a while. And he starts getting into the narcotics thing. He starts doing the interdiction thing. Very, very good at it. I mean, absolutely amazing dude at narcotics interdiction on the highway. And he starts putting the bug in my ear. He's like, hey, why don't you come over here. And I'm like, man, I like being a city cop. And he's like, yeah, but you get this freedom. You can go all over the state. You can do all this cool stuff. And I'm like, I'm not there yet. And as time started to progress, I'm like, it was a big pay jump at the time, right? It was pretty significant pay jump. So I started looking at it. I'm like, yeah, man. And my goal had always been to go to either criminal investigations or SWAT. At the time, DPS had one of the few full-time SWAT teams in the state. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to look at it. And then being from Massachusetts State Police are the top of the food chain for cops, man. You look at them, you're like, those are the dudes.
Yeah.
And they always looked sharp. They were always fit. Nothing against Boston PD. I might offend somebody, but you look at a Boston guy, you're like, man, that's a street cop. His uniform's all ruffled up, and he's probably rolling around the dirt with somebody. And then you look at a state police officer, and you're like, man, that dude is squared away.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm going to give it a shot. So would have been October, I think, of 2002. I tested with DPS. Went over there November of 2002. So I'd been Casa Grande 2.5 years at this point. Went over to Arizona Highway Patrol. Had to do another 10-week academy. They call it advanced basic. So at this point, I'd been through my academy in Massachusetts, which was 6 months, right? 6, 7 months. My Arizona academy, which is another 4 to 5 months, I don't remember, plus all my FTO time, right? And then I go to DPS and I'm like, I get 10 more weeks.
Yeah.
So I go through advanced basic, and it was a live-in, even though it was advanced academy. So I'm living in a crappy hotel up in Phoenix, is like basically I-17 in Thomas, which is the ghetto. And there, get done with that, and I find out they're shipping me. I had an original contract to go back to Casa Grande, right? District 6 is what it was called. And then I find out, like, hey man, needs of the agency, you're going to Salome, Arizona. And I'm like, how do you spell that and where's it at? And Salome is out what they call a remote duty district, middle of nowhere. If you were to go out I-10, for those people that live in the West Coast there that kind of know Arizona, out I-10 to milepost 45, would go north and backtrack 40 miles. It's a town of about 500. They give you state housing. And I get out there, and very old school highway patrol sergeant wanted you writing tickets and checking on broken down vehicles. Not a lot of criminal enforcement. You are here to write tickets and take care of wrecks.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. I can deal with this for a year or two. So we get out there. At the time, I'd been through my divorce at this time, had met my current wife, and she's in our house in Arizona City, and she is commuting on her days off to see me, which is 170 miles one way. And on my days off, I'm commuting home to my house to see her. And we started looking at it and going, man, I don't know if this is really going to work. I had put in a transfer request to go back to Casa Grande or to Phoenix, Metro Phoenix, whatever. And they're like, yeah, man, remote duty, 3 to 5 years minimum.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. And just kind of looked at it, and I was like, I like the freedom, because with Arizona Highway Patrol, man, you were the dude. It was a remote duty. I was the only one on at a time. My backup might be a patrol officer from the county, La Paz County. And I was like, I love the freedom I have, but I want to be a cop. And worked with Pinal County, had a good reputation. The former director from Arizona DPS, who was a cop, that dude was a cop, even though he was a highway patrolman. He was a cop, and he took over. He got elected to sheriff to Pinal County. So I applied with Pinal County, and I said, hey, look, I want to come back. You're leaving DPS. Explained all the rules, not the rules, but the things I just explained to you. And I got hired. And I started with Pinal County April 24th, 2004. So, and that kind of just skyrocketed my career.
And is Pinal County, is Casa Grande in?
Yes, I apologize. So I had knowledge of Pinal because Pinal County, Casa Grande sits within Pinal County.
Within it, yeah.
Yeah. So you've got Casa Grande, Florence, Maricopa, PD, Coolidge. Pinal County is the size of Connecticut. It's 5,400 square miles, large county, a lot of opportunity. So I had tested with them and come back to there as a deputy. So it was good. It worked out perfect.
And at what point had you already been heavily involved in firearms training at this point, or did that come?
So real interesting. Went to Casa Grande, right, and kind of saw the things that were going on, and I'm like, man, I am not where I need to be if I'm going to survive 25 years, 30 years, whatever in this career. So I started looking at training, right? Working graveyards, working swings, 50%, at least 50% of my shift was at dark. So old magazine, you might have remembered it, SWAT magazine, and they had a course in there, and it was Surefire Institute, the Low Light Officer Survival Instructor School. And I think it was, back then it was like 6 days. I'm like, and I'm, going going through divorce, single dude, like I'm going to
Nothing but
treat
time.
myself to some training and pay for it. And I ended up going to this course, and it was really, really good. Far exceeded anything I'd ever seen on the law enforcement side.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of got the hook. You know, I was like, okay, man, this is the career, not the career, but this is the path I want to go.
And how long had you been in at that time? How long have you been an officer out in Arizona at that time?
Oh, I think that class, correct me, I think that class was May of 2000. So
Okay.
a year, not even
wow.
quite a year,
Okay.
like 10 months.
So pretty early on.
Yeah. And that set the hook, right? And actually that's a good point, because that I set the hook there, and I kind of started to set myself up.
Mhm.
I want to be a firearms instructor. We had some really good dudes that could shoot, and I'm like, I can't shoot like that. I want to be better.
Mhm.
Started going through, taking the time to go to training. Couldn't afford anything, so whatever I could get from the agency. I met a really good guy that had just gotten hired by us, called Scott Griffin was his name. He was a former SF dude, really good guy. Him and I became close friends, and he kind of was the mentor to make me the shooter I am today.
Mhm.
He's like, hey, you need to do these things and continue your training process. And I credit Scott with the guy that really kind of set the foundation.
Mhm.
And I don't know where he's at today, man. We kind of lost track. Last
Yeah.
I know, he was in Vermont and Colorado and stuff, but he set the foundation for me to go on to seek that higher level.
Mhm.
2000 was actually the week of September 11th. Myself and Brian Gregg got
Mhm.
accepted to firearms instructor school. So he and I went up to Phoenix, and we were firearms instructors together, and kind of we came back and started teaching, and both recognized like, hey man, we need to be better.
Mhm.
Right. So at that time I had also I had just come over to the sheriff's office and went to the command, and I was like, hey, look, I know you guys are hiring me, but I have these 2 classes that are lined up. They're relevant. It's not like I'm going skydiving, right? These are the 2 classes.
Mhm.
This is my background. I'm firearms instructor, rifle instructor, blah, blah, blah. I want to do that for Pinal County, but I have these 2 1-week classes. Can I either take leave without pay
Mhm.
and go to them, or can I go on training time? And they're like, well, technically you're on probation, but because of the level of these classes, we're going to let you go on duty. Okay, cool. And that was Clint Smith's urban rifle,
Mhm.
right? So I did urban rifle, and then I backed that up, and I went back to gun sight to 5.56 carbine, and my range masters were Pat Rogers, Jeff Gonzalez, and Ken Campbell. So
Wow.
very very unique class to have
Mhm.
those 3 guys in my as the cadre. And that was it, man. I was hooked. I was like, this is training. Like, this is awesome. And man, that class probably set me back as a new deputy back then $1,500.
Mhm.
Hotel,
Mhm.
you know, lodging, tuition for the course, ammo.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, I can't
It's a
do
lot.
this.
Yeah, it's a lot of money back then,
Yeah.
especially on that.
Yeah, deputy salary, man.
Mhm.
And you know, wife and I had just gotten married, new wife, just gotten married, and trying to figure out what to do with life, you know. And I was like, hey man, I wonder how hard it would be to bring these guys to us,
Mhm.
right? So while I was up at 5.56, the gunsight carbine 5.56, I talked to Pat, and Pat, a New York cop. For some reason, Pat took a liking to me, man. You know, I don't know what it was. Pat was just Pat, and he took a liking to me, and we would always talk, and we kept in touch. And one day I emailed him like, hey man, what do I need to do to bring you to Casa Grande? Are you even able to do that if you're on staff with
Mhm.
Gunsight? And he's like, yeah, brother, I can do that, no problem. And I'm like, okay. So we held the first EAG. It was, you know, he separated from Gunsight and it became EAG Tactical. And I think it was November or December of 2004, you know, because I was still new with the sheriff's office, man.
Mhm.
And that was it, man. That started the training at Casa Grande Range. those classes. It was him and Jeff Gonzalez were the first 2 classes I ever hosted there.
That's awesome.
And that kind of set, some people love golf. Some people love skydiving.
Mhm.
I love shooting and training.
Mhm.
And I just started like bringing all these different guys in, man. And that was the catalyst for me to like really push anybody and everybody I could get that was willing to come to Casa Grande. We brought, you know, and it actually worked out really well, because what we would do is be like, hey, we're not going to give you range fees, you know, because a lot of ranges will be like, hey man, it's a $25 per
Mhm.
person range fee.
Mhm.
So now you go from per day range fee, right?
Yeah.
So now you go from a back then $350, $400 2-day class to a $450
Mhm.
class, and people are like, oh, that extra $50
Yeah.
adds up.
Mhm.
So we're like, hey man, no range fees, but can we have an extra spot for another guy?
Oh yeah.
And they're like, absolutely. So what we started doing was rotating deputies through and just getting
Nice.
guys. And what it also allowed us to do is get firearms instructors from other agents, Casa Grande, whoever, right? Pinal County, Casa Grande, DPS, guys that we were friends with, say, hey man, why don't you come see this training?
Mhm.
So you're not just institutionalized with what Arizona Post says or what Mike says or what Chris says.
Mhm.
There's other options out there. And it really kind of exploded, man. And I think overall it was for the better.
Mhm.
And I think we kind of changed culture in Pinal County because guys had that opportunity to go to some really, really good training. And it's cool to see, you know,
Mhm.
because I have this thing I can look back on and go, hey man, Brian, remember that class that was 23 years
Yeah.
ago, you know? And he's like, yeah, I know, it's crazy. So it's awesome.
Well, you talk about just changing culture there, but really, and you know, you were at that, you were in that time, and I tell people all the time, I'm like, man, like we were cops in the best possible time in history to be cops,
Yes.
and there was a lot of advancements going on,
Yep.
and you know, the guys today, the training that you see today was all based on, you know, their where they are at today based on what happened during some real formative years.
Yes.
You know, and
Absolutely.
those years are important. And so yeah, and being right smack in the middle of that, and not only being in the middle of that, but having the role that you had in the training there is pretty special.
It's really amazing, man. Like you don't think about it until somebody points it out.
Mhm.
And I was like, man, I guess I did have some influence on that, you know?
Yeah.
And Brian Gregg and I were sitting down, and somebody said, because Brian was a range master at Casa Grande
Mhm.
after I left, but Brian and I were such good friends, I could call him up, be like, hey man, I'm bringing this class in. I'll give you a seat or two. All right, cool. Right. And we were sitting down one day with, I can't remember who it was, and this guy's like, hey man, you know, this is really awesome that Casa Grande allows this, and you guys are, this is a legacy thing that you guys are going to see continue, because they're still doing it to this day. We're still bringing people in.
Mhm.
And Brian was like, hey man, I continued on with it, but this is the dude that really started it.
Mhm.
And so you give him the credit. And I was like, that's kind of a cool way of putting it, man. And it
Yeah.
kind of took me back, because Brian is not a, he can come off as a very unfriendly guy if you don't know his person. I love
Yeah.
Brian to death, but he's
Yeah.
very like, yeah, this is the way it is. And I looked and I'm like, man, for him to say that, dude,
Yeah.
pretty amazing,
That
because
is.
even he, as stoic as he can be, is recognized it. And it was awesome, man. And I was kind of like, yeah, dude, we were at the forefront.
Yeah.
But going back to what you're saying, man, we saw you were much earlier than me.
Mhm. 91 is when I
91. So
started.
yeah, almost, it was 7 years,
Mhm.
6 years. You know, we saw the freaking LA stuff. We saw the LA the bank robbery, and just then other things progressed to a point where it's like, hey man, department training is not good enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I hope to think that the guys that I've given that opportunity to kind of see how that manifested itself
Mhm.
will carry that on.
Yeah.
And right now I believe it's being done.
Oh, I
So
do
it's
too.
awesome.
I do too, for sure.
Very, very cool stuff.
It's funny you bring up Brian. So Brian Greg, when I went through that course, that's
Yeah.
when I met you two.
Yep.
And I think it was just I kind of kept up with more with him because he followed my photography on Instagram and stuff, and we kind of kept up. And I reached out to him, and he's who put me in contact with you. He was like, "Yeah, I know some guys who would be really good for that."
Brian's,
So,
yeah, it was very interesting because Brian called me, I think, before you, and he's like, "What do you think about this? Would you be willing?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'll talk to him."
yeah,
And then, of course, you and I kind of hit it off on the phone. I'm like, "Man, this is cool." So, yeah, it's. I will tell you this, and I'm sure we'll get into it, but Brian retired before me, and he left the team.
Yeah,
and that left a void. You know,
mm-hmm.
Brian was definitely a mentor to me,
Mm-hmm.
and one of those guys that, like, he could be grumpy, you know, but you always knew where he stood with him. And so, like, we still talk all the time, but not as much as we should. But he's just that guy that I was always there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could run something off him, especially as I started to come up on the team. Because by the time I'd gotten into the team, Brian was a senior guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has a special place in my heart, man.
Yeah.
I'll tell him that. I don't want him to think I'm getting emotional, but he holds a special place for me, man.
Yeah.
I love Brian to death.
Well, police are police are unique. I was talking to a guy the other day, actually, had lunch with, and police are a unique set of people, because you get in this, you get in a car with a guy, or you ride a district with a guy for 10 hours a night, and pretty soon you're pretty much like a married couple. And then, but if you transfer, then you got a new guy that you go to, and it's and you have these lifelong friendships where a lot of these guys you can just pick up just like that.
Yeah.
But it is where you lose contact because you're constantly kind of, in a good sized department, you can work patrol, you can work special projects, maybe undercover, you can do gangs, you can do, investigations all in one career. And it's like, so you have so much ability to move around that, it's a shame. I feel it's a shame, that sometimes we lose contacts with some of the really, most important people in our lives that you may never have another relationship like that again.
Yeah. Very good point, because Brian was always kind of a patrol guy, right? Patrol and SWAT, that was his thing. He went to investigations for a short period of time, whatever their requirements were, 3-4 years. Became a sergeant and all that stuff. But he got the training aspect of it, right?
Yep.
And he ended up becoming the training sergeant. The last several years he was at Casa Grande. And during that time, their firearms and their tactics training made leaps and bounds. And 100% because of that dude.
Yeah.
It tapered off a little bit, but I think it's back on track now with the new sergeant that's in there. But Brian actually, he set the standard, and he's like, this is what we're doing. And I absolutely believe that had a huge impact on the agency, and probably some guys' lives who use those skill sets.
Yeah.
So he played a role that was important. So
I say you brought up, a lot of these tactics that you guys were teaching, went on to do great things in law enforcement, especially for the people who were using them on the street.
Yeah.
What were some of the, one of the things we talk about are kind of some of the stories that, that you went through? Because there's some funny stories. There's some that raise the hair on the back of your neck. And then there's some, stories that aren't so funny. But, what are some of the ones that you went through? Because you had a lot. You had patrol. You had SWAT out in the,
So at this point, right around 0405, I'm heavy into the training, right? Doing the training, firearms instructor, like trying to make Pinal better. Got a great crew of guys, old school group of dudes at Pinal County that I'm working with. We're doing some stuff with Casa Grande, and I'm like, man, my goal is to get to SWAT, right? And at the time, I didn't have enough to test with the sheriff's office on SWAT. But again, being a training junkie, I went and got my EMT. So now I'm an emergency medical technician. Something I felt as remote of a deputy that we could be in areas like, hey, it's a benefit. It's not going to be a negative. So again, reading in this thing called tactical medicine was starting to come to the forefront, right? A lot of the bigger agencies already had it, but it was kind of lesser known, and it was coming out of early war on terror, like tourniquets, blood stop, blah, blah, blah. And it started to catch on mainstream. Okay, this is medics should, not necessarily medics, but even EMTs should probably be on scene or part of a SWAT team. And I didn't have the time to, I think it was back then, it was either 3 or 5 years with the agency to test for SWAT. And I didn't have the time on. So I would hit up a couple of guys. I'm like, hey man, do you guys have these things called tactical EMTs? And they're like, yeah, man, what do we need those for? It's for SWAT.
Yeah.
Nothing against them. They just didn't know, right?
Yeah.
And it is what it is. And I'm like, hey, you know, here's this program. And I think they gave me the position just to shut me up at one point. Cause I'm like, hey man, you know, I enjoy trauma medicine, right? Certainly not a doctor, but I enjoy that part of it. So kind of went and wrote up this little proposal, and they're like, yeah, man, you can be the medic, or you can be the EMT on the team. I'm like, all right, cool. So I was right around mid 06, and right around 07, it started to the point where I was eligible to test. So really join and get associated with the team around then. The guys started to know me. And then I get to the team in 07. And back then, man, it was, you know, crash bangs and running through a house with your hair on fire. And good times, but there were some scary times. You know, I remember we were coming up to a house, and Brian McGinnis, I think, was my window breach guy. And we come off this, we had a bread truck with the, you know, the tail lifts. So they're like 6 feet or 4 feet off the ground. That was our SWAT truck, you know? And as we roll up to a house, that's like, it starts going down. And so the guys are stacked on that. And we're like, hey, we're going dynamic, freaking jump off this. And Brian and I are running up to this window. It was off of 10th Street in Casa Grande. And we banged everything back then. It was like, guy looked at you wrong, you got a flashbang. You know? So he and I are running up to this window, and all of a sudden I see this flashbang come over my head. And I'm like, this is not going to be good. And it hits the roof and bounces right in front of Brian McGinnis and I. And the thing goes off, boom. And McGinnis is like completely blinded. We didn't wear ear pro back then. And McGinnis is trying to hit the window. He's like hitting the side of the house. And I grab him, and I'm like, hey, rake and break here. And he's like, all right. And he turns around, and he's all stunned. And I'm like porting this window, and all I can hear is like tinnitus, you know? So that's kind of how my career started at SWAT. You know, it's like, hey, hit it hard, hit it fast, bang everything, run through the house. Funny, another story that involves Greg. We had, this was a little bit later on the team. I was a team leader at the time, I think, but Brian's a senior team leader, acting commander. Right, this had to be 08, 09, right at the height of the cartel kidnappings in the Southwest, you know, when all the real crazy cartel stuff started happening. And back then, if guys were kidnapped or taken by RIP crews or whatever, it was treated as hostage rescue. So we get intel from narcotics that they're holding this family hostage at this crappy house in Eloy. And we're like, hey man, there's not a lot of intel behind this. We don't know. We start looking into it, and I'm like, Brian, I'm not comfortable with this, man. Like something ain't right. And he's like, yeah, me either. And the commander's like, she comes down and she's like, no, you guys are going to execute this. We believe there's information these people are going to be killed. All right, whatever. So we do our plan, and it was a 2-stage kind of like house. There was a front house, and there was a secondary small house in the back. We believe they were being held in the back. And Brian and I are going back and forth because mission planning's on us. And we're like, all right, we'll hit the 2 houses simultaneous. Well, as we roll up, we had been compromised, but they had funneled. Nothing ever goes as planned. When we did the drive-by the day before, everything was wide open. Well, somehow that night they had put a bunch of cars, a bunch of junk inside the fence, kind of funneled us right up to the doorway, inside a fence, and then you had to take a hard right and go through this carport that was just covered with tarps and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we unload, and Brian's like number 3, and I'm back because I'm going to be the secondary assault element going to the primary house. Brian's taking the first house, and I'll never forget it, man. We come up, and Brian's like, failed breach, and we go through, we make our way through. We get to the primary door, which has got a security door on it, and he's working that, and they're working the door, and in slow motion, we had tossed the bang, so there's smoke in the air, and Brian's like, "Go!" And it was like this movie scene, man. And I'm like, why is he talking in slow motion? And I'm making my way through the carport, and this dog comes out and latches onto my pants, and I'm like trying to kick the dog off me, and the guys are pushing me to the side, like, "You got the dog, bro. Good luck." And we ended up making it back, but what it had been was just narcotics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's like, "Hey, I'll give you this information if you let me go," and it was all bullshit, you know. But it was a fun memory. I mean, it was a learning point for our captain at the point, because she was new to the SWAT and narcotic side of it. And we're like, "Hey, man, there's this thing called intelligence, right? Like, we have to gain on these things. I understand legit hostage rescue, but bad guy on bad guy, where we don't have any knowledge or direct intel that these people are being held hostage, we just can't we can't do this." So it was a really good learning point at that point. But I've told Greg that story before. It's like, dude, there was just this like layer of smoke in the air, and he's yelling, and he's got his Oakley M frames on, and he's like yelling. Good times, man. There's a lot of SWAT stories.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. We talk about that a lot, about how the physiological effects come in, and how you see things, and it is pretty. I mean, it's really cool to experience that in these, in these times that are probably the worst times ever. But to be able to experience that it's pretty fascinating firsthand to see that.
Yeah, it was definitely different, because that was the first time I'd really experienced I didn't have auditory exclusion. It was just
the
slowed down a little bit. Yeah, and I don't know if it was, hey, man, we might be going in to get into some stuff to protect some people, you know? And I don't know if it was that level of focus, but it was definitely there. So that was kind of like the early days of SWAT. And then I had gone over to the gang unit, which is Get 'em. At that point, they had disbanded Get 'em around 04, 05, I believe, and brought it back in 07. And that's when I transferred over to the gang unit. And at that point, they had added another I for immigration. So it was Gang Intelligence Immigration Team Enforcement Mission. So we had 287G coverage, which we could do enforcement of aliens and narcotics under federal law. Went over there. Cool job. Really cool job, man. If we weren't, we called it our MIBs. We were in Men in Black uniform. We wore black BDUs, black T-shirts, black over vests. Very overt, targeted organization. A lot of high profile, like, enforcement. Just, hey, man, this is where all the bad stuff's happening. That's where we're going. So got to do a lot of stuff. Got to do a lot of surveillance, a lot of like really cool things, because they're like, hey, you guys 1 minute can be overt, next minute we're going to be working supporting our intelligence portions of this unit to build cases, racketeering cases and stuff like that. Was there, traveled all over the state, got to spend a lot of time down on the border. I spent a lot of time in San Luis, Arizona, Douglas, and Nogales, right? So I spent a lot of time down there. With that, in 04, again, I had gone to a course with David Scott Donald, Tactical Tracking Operations. Just really took to tracking, like man tracking through the woods, the desert, and got to go to Get 'em. And because of the mission of being out interdicting, spent a lot of time on the dirt just tracking bad
Nice.
guys, man. So
That's cool.
really, really enjoyed that time. And then from there, this would have been 08, 06, 07. I went to left get them. I'm sorry. Yeah, left get them. And I went to the Drug Enforcement Administration. So
Okay. That's where you did the task
yeah. So get them was a task force, right? And then we had just restarted the DEA task force position, and it was me and one other guy that were eligible just because of the requirements for the position. Didn't think I'd get it, you know, and got accepted to the position, and basically mid 2008 transferred over to DEA as a task force officer, not as an agent, and spent the next 5 years there, and continued to do the training, continued to do SWAT. I mean, my 5 years at DEA, man, were awesome. I did undercover work, I did hits for DEA, and I did hits for SWAT, you know, and you're on the federal task force. Fridays on the feds, you get federal Fridays, right? So guys are like, hey, I'm going to go do this surveillance 10 minutes from my house at 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay, dude, we'll see you Monday. And I was like, man, I got to get my hours in. So I would go and link up with, you know, our narcotics task force, my buddy from Casa Grande PD. He's like, hey, man, I'm working this armed robbery. And we would just go out and wreak havoc.
That's awesome.
And I just, I don't want to say I was a direct report, but my chain of command was like, you got the sergeant lieutenant here, but because of your position, you can report directly to the chief or the sheriff. And I was like, man, this is pretty freaking cool, you know? And I had my DEA chain of command, my sergeant, my lieutenant, but they were so busy on our task force that as long as I was doing something, even if it wasn't supporting them, they didn't care.
Yeah.
And I could go work with other agencies, help them out. So, man, that 5 years of my life was insanely busy.
Yeah.
You know, I remember getting calls from our finance lady, and she's like, how the hell did you work 196 hours in one pay period? I'm like, federal task force, you know, mission requirements. And it was good times. So that was, got to do a bunch of cool stuff with DEA. Went to New York, worked undercover in New York City for a couple weeks, a couple other places throughout the country. As you go through task force positions, a lot of times they'll give back to the agency or to you. You know how it goes, right? And I hadn't been to like BTAP school, which was one of the big wiretap schools, and some of the other stuff that the DEA guys had got to go to, or task force officers got to go to. So as I was getting ready, 2011, I tested and I promoted to sergeant. And they were like, hey, man, the DEA, cool guys. I had a good task force group that I work with. They brought me in. They're like, hey, man, we never really did anything for you, like as far as training. Is there anything that you want to go to that we can get you to before you leave as like a thank you? I'm like, is there any chance I can go to like DEA firearms instructor school? It's supposedly one of the premier firearms instructor schools. They're like, let us look. So they call around, and they call Quantico, and Quantico's like, hey, man, it's short notice. It's like 3 weeks, but we have a school starting in 3 weeks in Los Angeles.
Wow.
And DEA's like, hey, man, we'll cover hotel, we'll cover everything. All you got to do is get
That's
there.
awesome.
And I was like, I'm in, right? And then it started the whole like, hey, dude, there's guys that prepare this entire time, like 6 months in advance to go to this school, you know, super hard, and you got to pass this qual. And I'm like, we shoot the qual all the time. Like, how hard is it? Yeah, but the stress of doing it. I'm like, okay. So this is May, I think, of 2011. And I show up, man. I drive out there, and 3 or 4 weeks out, I show up on the day the class starts, and they're going around. It's a big class, 40, 45 dudes. And there's people from Guam, Middle East, the DEA agents that are coming in, and from all over the world. And, you know, these guys are standing up there. They're like, this is the hardest FI school and the federal government, and don't get comfortable, and this and that. And they're going around asking. And they get to, it was cool, man. It was really neat because it was me and 3 LA County Sheriff's deputies. We were the only non-DEA guys in that class. And of course, we got ragged on because we're just the county deputies, right? And they get to me and they're like, all right, what's your name? Tell them my name. They're like, you've been preparing for this class? I'm like, yeah, I just found out about this 3 weeks ago. I'm just happy to be here. And the guy's like, don't unpack your stuff. And I'm like, okay. We have people that prepare 6 months for this class that don't make it. And I'm like, great, man. I get it. You know, like,
happy to be here.
Yeah, happy to be here. A little encouragement could maybe help.
Yeah.
So we go through, man, and me, Joe, and Lee, and I just blanked out on the other guys. Those are 3 LA County guys. We just aced this course, man.
Nice.
Lee's number 1, I'm number 2, and I think Joe's number 3 in the shooting order of like top shooters. And you want to talk about some pissed off fits, dude. You know, great class, awesome time, phenomenal dudes. I got friends that I went through that course with that I'm still in touch with today. Yeah. And so that was like a feather in my cap. I'm like, hey, man, this is awesome. A pretty prestigious thing. And the fact that I was able to go, and at the end, you know, they do a big ceremony, big party. Yeah. Typical feds. And we're sitting there and the instructor comes up and he's like, hey, man, I just want to say I'm proud of you. You know, a big corn-fed dude from freaking somewhere in the Midwest. He's like, not a lot of guys could do this. And, you know, we didn't have high hopes for you. I'm like, thanks, dude.
Thanks, man.
You know? You guys are a real friggin'
I can tell.
Real ball of encouragement, you know? And that was it. But realistically, I'd been doing so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like,
point.
Okay, I have to shoot a bullseye course and a qualification course. Big deal, you know? But I will say the standards were high. You know, back then it was 2 times, maybe 3 times, but you had to shoot 50 yards. I know we were talking about that earlier today. Yeah. 50-yard qualification, iron sights with the pistol, and you could only drop 2 rounds. Wow. And you got 2 shots in, basically 3 times, but 1, miss 1, and then reshoot. Yeah. But if you missed it, you were gone. And they sent a lot of people home in that class. And then it was the same standards with pistol, rifle. They did a 100-yard rifle shoot where you could only drop 2. And then a carbine operators course. They did it the same standard. And then an SMG course. So very, very varied course throughout. They even did tactics. They did shoot house stuff. They did medical stuff. So it was a really, really good school. With a high standard, like everything, it gets watered down. From what I understand, you get 5 chances now. And like back in our day, man, we only got 1 shot, and I had to do it with a slingshot, you know. But very honored to go through that. It was awesome. And then that's when I promoted to sergeant.
And was sergeant like the first line supervisor, or?
Yeah. So technically. I don't know if it's still in the policy because I already promoted, but back then a detective was basically like a corporal. Okay. And I held the rank of detective. Yeah. So technically I outranked a patrol guy. Yeah. Nobody did that. Like I was just a guy assigned to criminal investigations. Yeah. But if I wanted to be an idiot and pull rank per policy, I could. Yeah. But yeah, so it was my first line supervision. Yeah. Minus my time as an FTO, because I did spend quite a bit of time as an FTO as a patrol guy. So
very cool. Well, the task force deal, I was going to ask you, what was your experience there? Because generally speaking, task forces are just amazing to be a part of, and the time, number one, the overtime, the funding, the equipment, the gear, everything that you get to work with.
Amazing, right? Like. The fact that I got a badge and a gun and I think it was called an NLITS number, where I could get on an aircraft and be like, yeah, I'm flying to Boston and here's my creds. It's like, this is the best time of my life flying. You know, I just be like, oh yeah, hey, I'll see you on the airplane, man. I'll in 30 minutes and walk through security.
I gotta go meet the pilot and get on and yeah.
So phenomenal time. The equipment was great. The funding for training was phenomenal. The experience alone, man, like there's a lot of guys out there, and I think you'll appreciate this, where they get a bag of dope. Like marijuana was big back then, right?
Mhm,
Huge
mhm,
thing.
mhm.
And probably a negative on my part, right? As I promoted, went back to the road, and guys would be like, "Hey, Sarge, check this out. I got like half a pound of weed." And I'm like, "Cool, man.
Yeah.
You know, throw it in the river."
Yeah,
Not that we
yeah,
ever did that,
yeah,
but it's like,
yeah.
cool, dude. I saw that, and like that was our sample that we
Mhm.
sent to the the lab. Because at the time we were working, DEA was working the West Desert really
Oh
hard,
yeah, I bet you saw
and
a lot then.
we seized 50,000 pounds of dope in a month.
Wow.
And when I interviewed the guy that we finally picked up for it, he's like, "Let me ask you something. How much dope did you seize from us?" And I'm thinking, I'm DEA guy, county deputy, SWAT guy. Like, we seized 50,000 pounds from you. And he's like, 50,000 pounds. We didn't even change our routes. And I was like, all right.
Okay.
He's like, that's an expected loss.
Wow.
I was like, wow. And that kind of put things in
In
perspective.
perspective, yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, man, like that joint you got, dude, I'm proud of you, new guy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
hey, man, like I'm not gonna get excited about it. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. There's so much more out there that you will never even understand until 5-10 years into your career.
Mhm.
And I mean, I was proud because those guys were out hunting.
Yeah.
You know, they were doing their job. They wanted to learn. I could kind of guide them in a position and be like, hey, man, you got this good information. You got this, ounce of meth.
Mhm.
Let's go back on the phone and write a search warrant for the phone.
Mhm.
Start looking at who his contacts are. Do a really good search of the vehicle. You might find a piece of paper in there that has just one thing that connects another case to another.
Mhm.
So in that aspect, I was really able to put that experience to work for the guys who
Mhm.
worked for me. And I think that was the rewarding part.
Yeah.
Being able to give back more I think that was more fun than seeing them get the ounce of weed or the ounce of meth or whatever, cocaine, whatever it was, because they understood like, hey, man, everything is part of a larger investigation,
Mhm.
whether it's a marijuana case, a robbery, a homicide, a sex assault.
Mhm.
There's other parts that we need to worry about, except
Mhm.
we got the key piece. Let's go. Let's take a step and make sure we have a solid case before we move on.
Mhm.
And I think that was critical. And man, I've got some guys that worked for me that went on to be amazing detectives, far better than I ever was, and great supervisors too. So that's kind of you always want that. You always want the guys that worked for you or that you mentored to be better than you. And I have a lot of successes, we'll call that, in that area. So it's a good thing for sure. So
that's pretty wild hearing what that guy the from the other side, from the guy you interviewed about the 50,000 to have him like to hear that from the other side.
Oh,
pretty eye opening.
He was sitting across from a table smaller than this man, and I looked down and I go, what are you talking about? He goes, you seized 50,000 pounds from us last month. I said, yeah. He goes, we didn't even change our routes, and they had dirt road smuggling routes, and you're like, whoa,
yeah, that's an eye opener from hearing that from the other side. Yeah. That's a good line for a movie sometime now.
Yeah, and he literally was like, I'll go to jail, I'll go to prison, whatever.
Yeah,
I'm not getting my head sawed off. It's an expected loss, and you're just like, okay, that puts it in perspective. We got one night, man. We got 3 Suburbans loaded with 5,000 pounds each, traveling tandem, blacked out, 15,000 pounds. So if they're getting that through, and they're not worried about 50,000 pounds in a month, what else is coming up? What was coming across? What is coming across our border?
Yeah,
and that got to be the point where you start to see how vast and how open, without going into politics, how exposed we really are. And it's very, 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 very scary. And if the American people knew, they'd be terrified. I would send pictures. I got a friend of mine, we were cops back east together, same agency, and he went on to the feds. And Northeast, he's out of Boston field office, and I would send him stuff, and he's like, how? Like, dude, it's a barbed wire fence. It's a 2-wire barbed wire fence between us and Mexico. Like, people think we have this gigantic the fucking Ranger battalions out there protecting America, and we have walls. It ain't like that, man. It might be a lone Tohono O'odham Nation Ranger patrolling this back road, and here comes the cartel just running thousands of pounds, and he's like, going the other way. And that's literally how porous our border is. And kind of, we'll side off this for a minute, but like when we started hitting them hard on the ground, we started putting it through the air.
Yep.
The end of the Obama era and into the first Trump administration, I can't tell you how many, I call them not golf carts, but go-karts. But what do they call them? The gliders.
I
did it something light.
Airlight.
Yes, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
It's a go-kart with a wing and a motor on it. And how many of those we interdicted? And the whole bottom of them is dope. And I don't know if we can put media pictures in the podcast itself, but I have a picture that we took from an A-Star at 9,000 feet, and there's a guy on a go-kart with a big fan engine on it in his wing. Ultralight, yes, thank you. That was it. And the whole bottom, it's spray painted red. It's got its little wheels for landing. And below that is just bricks of weed.
Wow, yeah, we can put a picture in here.
And
that'd be awesome.
And he's got a red crash helmet on. It's at 9,000 feet. And you're like, this dude is the bravest guy I've ever seen. And then, politics change. And after they get rotor washed down a few times and they have a few crashes, you're like, we can't be coming up on them and burning them into the ground. Yeah. So that we had to be a little more standoffish. We did cause a few to crash, not intentionally, but the rotor wash from the helicopter and stuff like that. So, but they're gonna find a way. And it was insane to see that level of sophistication and also that level of just sheer bravery on those guys' parts. Because I guess if it's like, hey man, take my chances in this ultralight, or get stuffed in a barrel and lit on fire, or get my head sawed off with a chainsaw, I think I'll take my chances.
Yeah, take my chances.
So you see those type of things, and you're just amazed.
Well, and you think about law enforcement and military, the ethos of adapt and overcome. One thing that I actually really started seeing and doing these interviews is bad guys do the same thing. They go through the exact same things, and even in shootings.
Yes.
We don't. A lot of times we don't think about being shot. I've never been shot, but a lot of the guys I've interviewed have been shot, and a lot of times they don't know they've been shot.
Yep.
And they're going at it, and through these interviews, you realize, oh yeah, the bad guy doesn't know that either. So he's still fighting, just like you would still be fighting this.
To go back to my gang days, during the big gang war, right? In those times that were going on, there was a big feud between Coolidge group, Casa Grande group. One of the dudes from Casa Grande, very, very, very dangerous individual. We'll call him Puff, right? That was his street name. When he got arrested and was interviewed, he said, I went to the range every day. I would go to the range and shoot every day. Whether it was a magazine or 100 rounds, I would go to the range and shoot every day because I knew what it meant. And can't prove them all, but that dude's got more kills than probably you and I combined. You know what I mean? And so that's the level they understand it. They have counter surveillance. Again, you asked for a story. When I transferred over to gangs and those investigations were starting to pick up, they didn't know how, but they knew we were onto them. And they had put somebody inside that was able to have access to records and information like that. And one of the primary guys that was involved in the head gang activity. I wouldn't say he was a head, but he was definitely a pawnsman for them.
Mm-hmm.
Dangerous guy. My wife gets cornered up in a supermarket, and he's like, "Hey, you're Chris's wife, right?" And head to toe, red, straight up blood. She describes this guy, dreadlocks, blah blah blah, black dude, and she's telling me this story, and I'm like, "Okay," and she's like, "Yep." And he cornered me in the store, and we were in the back, kind of like that corner where the freaking produce was, and he's like, "Here's Chris's transfer date to get him. Here's where you work. Here's where you live. Here's where your kids go to school. And this is when you know, your shift." And I was like, wow, okay. And they had been basically, and I'm sure they had that information on a few of us, but me and one of my, he's now a captain at the sheriff's office, we were assigned to the sheriff's office, and we were the most recognizable, right? Because we were known from patrol deputies. I was known from the city also. So these guys all knew who I were. And I lived outside of Casa Grande at this time. And they had come to where I live and was doing counter surveillance to the point. And then the person on the inside was able to get them my transfer date to get them, my home address, all that stuff. And the only thing I can figure out is they followed my wife to taking the kids to school one day, and started doing surveillance on her. Because I know for a fact, she called me one day. She's like, "Hey, there's a group of dudes outside our house taking pictures." And it was a four-door Tahoe. It wasn't a Suburban. And they had that group of people that we know. I know the vehicle, what it was. And she's like, "Yeah, it's a bunch of like gangbanging looking black dudes, and they're taking pictures of the house." I'm like, "Are you safe?" Lock the door and freaking just lock down and I'm on my way. And they were there, and they took off, and it was shortly after that they did that to her.
Wow.
So yeah, that was an eye opener. So if, for the guys listening, man, if you're in some kind of special investigations like that, even not just in a big city where you're a proactive guy, don't take anything for granted, man. Don't. We have SDR for a reason, right? Do that surveillance detection route once in a while. Check on your family during the night, because you just never know. And that's another, I didn't even think about that, but that actually was a really scary thing for me.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, man, with the gang unit, we could be sitting here working patrol, and then they're like, "Hey, we need you guys to go to Parker," which is 4.5 hours away, because HA's having an event up there, and we want you guys to monitor it. And now my family's left alone for 4 or 5 days, you know? So.
And when that happened, were you in the gang unit at that time?
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't have a lot of concerns when I was at DEA, because we were, shit, man, we're working in Phoenix. I'm living south of Casa Grande and we were so separated.
Yeah.
I hadn't started doing the undercover stuff yet, and I was kind of still new to the task force, so I was learning. And so I wasn't too concerned there. Did we get made on surveillance by absolute cartel members? 100%. But I don't think back then that the level of violence on cartel, Mexican on Mexican, Mexican on black, to the drug realm, black on white, whatever you want to call it, where there was that inside dealing was very high. But they weren't to the point where, let's go target cops. We're bad guys. They know what they're doing, and they're like, "Hey, if we get caught, and it's an acceptable risk. It's just like 50,000 pounds in a month, right? We put ourselves here. We're not gonna piss off Mexico down there and have them be like, 'Hey, man, you're bringing more heat on us by going after these cops.'" So I never really worried too much about that. But on the gang side, I did, especially after my experience. So that, like I said, that was definitely like, ooh, okay. Which just upped my level for wanting to train harder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
yeah. All right. Well, let's get into your shootings. You have a couple that we're probably going to talk about today. Yeah. So let's get into those. And then I'd like to kind of, after that, kind of talk about leadership.
Sure.
And it's in law enforcement today and, and throughout your career.
Yeah.
So, start out with whatever.
So, uh, patrol sergeant up in David region. It's a normal night, right? It's calls for service. Everything's going smooth, and I've got I've got a squad. With the county being as big as it is, there's a couple of sergeants on, right? And out on patrol, and hear the alert tone go off, and it's like, hey, agency assist, Maricopa PD requesting assistance with a subject with a knife inside of a restaurant. Okay, all right, whatever. We'll see how this pans out. And they start escalating the information as far as like, now subject inside the restaurant, patrons are inside, there's patrons hidden in the back, and it almost sounds like, hey man, this sounds legit, right? So Phil, buddy Phil that we've talked about,
Yeah.
he's one of my patrol guys with me, and SWAT dude, and he's like, hey Sarge, should we start rolling that? I'm like, man, I don't think so, but I'm gonna start heading that way. He's like, okay. I said, hey, one of the senior deputies, I talked to him, I'm like, hey man, I'm gonna put you in charge. I'm gonna head that way because it's about a hour drive, 45-minute drive to the location, because it's the other side of the county. And he's like, all right, cool. I call the other sergeant. I'm like, hey man, down in Santan Valley, and I'm like, hey, you can just listen up for my guys. You heard the call come out. He's like, yeah, dude, I got you. Start heading that way. So I'm rolling towards the city of Maricopa. So everybody's like, oh, Maricopa PD is Maricopa County. I'm like, no, Maricopa County is Maricopa County, but we have the city of Maricopa within Pinal County, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Very new city, had just incorporated, so their PD wasn't completely stood up. And start hearing this call come out. It was a Great Wall Chinese restaurant. Dude's in there with a knife. 95% of the people out. Then we hear that he's got a couple of hostages. Kind of from what I remember, there's a couple of hostages in the back room. Mm-hmm. And okay, so my call sign was Sam 39. I'm like, Sam 39, I'm en route. Rory Skidell, who's another, at this time, very senior sergeant, who's also on SWAT, is en route. He's like, hey, I'll be en route too. He's much closer than me. When we get on scene, Maricopa PD, so you have to look, this sits north-south in a strip mall. Mm-hmm. And the restaurant is on the southwest corner, and it's at an intersection. Basically, you come down, there's a Bashas shopping center, a couple of smaller stores, and then the Great Wall China restaurant. And then if you were to take a right, you go to the back parking lot. Directly across the street is Streets of New York Italian restaurant. And that's loaded. I mean, there's the big bar, there's people outside, they're watching everything that's going on. And we come rolling in, and we're trying to decide, does he have hostages or not, right? Mm-hmm. At this point, we can see him inside. He's walking around with a couple of knives. He would put one of the knives either in his pocket or down on the table, and he's on the phone with somebody. So we're trying to establish communications on the PA. English, Spanish, nothing's working. Kind of form like a little, I think it was a patrol guys, form a little team, and they go to the back and they try and get the back door open and see if there's anybody hiding in a restaurant, we can get them out through the back door. And from what I remember, there was a couple of cooks or dishwashers that they exfilled out the back, which was really good. And so at this point, we have a barricade. Mm-hmm. Again, attempting negotiations. Maricopa PD is kind of standoffish. Mm-hmm. And me, Rory, Chad Nichols, who's a SWAT guy, Kenny Lee, and I think there was 2 or 3 Maricopa guys that were kind of like a support unit for us that had a shield and less lethal. So we get on scene, we establish, like, I tell Chad, I'm like, hey man, hold the basically the 1-2 corner, because the 1-2 corner, which would be the southeast section of the southwest building, because there was a door that led directly out south. So if the guy ran to the restaurant, Chad could intercept. So we got Chad there, and Rory and I are on the front door, kind of offset on our patrol cars, just watching this guy while negotiations are trying to be made, get him on the phone and my PA and all this stuff. And at this time, we have the inner perimeter. And we had called and said, hey, we believe we have a SWAT activation, blah, blah, blah. I don't know the context of that story, but somehow it was transmitted that, hey, man, we think this is just a dude inside a building wanting to commit suicide, so SWAT's not going to get activated. I don't know how the telephone game played, right? But it definitely should have been a SWAT call out. So we're there. I kind of handed off to Rory because Rory's the senior guy, right? And I'm going to let him just be the boss. He's very good at it. And at this time, this dude comes walking through the crime scene. Like, older dude, gray hair, wearing a leather jacket, and he's just strutting through like he owns the place. And Rory's like, hey, you not see the crime scene? The guy's like, oh, I'm the chief of police. And Rory's like, well, you think you would identify yourself. So they start not having words, but having a conversation. And the chief's like, hey, man, I am not equipped for this right now. So we're going to turn this over to Pinal County. You guys have a SWAT element here. Whatever you choose to do to handle this, handle it. I'm giving it authority over to to Pinal County. Okay. Well, this wouldn't come back to bite us, but now it's one of those points where you're like, Rory probably should have chose a little better wording. He goes, oh, we're going to handle it one way or the other.
Yeah.
And it's just Rory. If you know him, he's very direct, very to the point. So he and I get together, we start forming a plan, and the guy goes to the south end of the restaurant and sits down. So it's all glass, aluminum roof, concrete floor. And he sits down and he's on the phone, and we're like, hey, man, he doesn't have the knife in his hand. We think he might have put it somewhere. So we're like, hey, we'll just form a hasty team through the front door. As soon as you went in, there was like a little glass corridor, and then you'd take a hard left and you'd be inside the restaurant. We'll go in that and we'll hold there. So there's the gap for reaction. If he comes towards us with the blade, we can hit him with less lethal. Chad was on this L-shaped door that led right to the booth he was in. He was 3 booths in, up against the glass window. So me, Rory, and Kenny Lee, and then we had Donnie Bernius, and I can't remember the guy's first name, but I think his last name was Angula. Bernius and Angula are less lethal and shield guy. Kenny and I are going to be the assault element, and Rory is, or lethal cover, and Rory's kind of like the TL, right? So we tell Chad, hey, man, if he makes it to that door, he cannot get to those people across the street. Like, protection of third party, it is what it is. You need to stop him. Chad's good to go. He's like, got it. Roger that. So we make entry. We open the door and we're trying to communicate with the guy, and he's completely, I don't want to say oblivious, but zoned out. Like he's out in outer space, man. He could care less who we are, what we're doing. He's on the phone and he puts the phone down. And now he's sitting in the booth, which would be an east-west facing booth, but he's kind of pivoted where he's looking at us, but he's kind of looking through us, right? Like we're not there. And he's something's running through his head. So we start to approach and giving him commands, and we stop, and his hands are free. And I look and I'm like, hey guys, his hands are free right now, no weapons visible. We're going to give him a couple of commands. And if he does not comply, light him up with less lethal, and then we'll just pin him with the shield and get him cuffed up. There's 4 or 5 of us in there. All right. So we start giving commands. I think it was Donnie. That was Angulo. He speaks Spanish, so he's trying to negotiate in Spanish. Put your hands up, put your hands up. He's totally oblivious. So I'm like, hit him, right? Like, let him have it. Start shooting him with less lethal. He falls back into the booth. And perfect plan, right? Assault up, get on top of him, pin him with the shield. Well, I don't know how he did it. I really don't. He falls back into the booth, and I'm from about me to you, and he pops out of the booth, and he's got a freaking meat cleaver, about an 8 or 9 inch meat cleaver.
Wow. And
he stands up, and I'm still kind of coming forward because this is all in motion. And I'm like, holy shit, this dude's got a cleaver. And I bring my carbine up, and I shot him twice. crazy thing. We talk about, everything slowing down,
Mhm.
auditory exclusion. I brought the gun up. I remember seeing the dot on his chest and I pulled the trigger. I was like, boom, boom. With that slowing down of everything, I saw him kind of do this,
Mhm.
and then he spun. And when he spun, I remember seeing his head kind of pop. And I was like, one of those weird things in the back of my mind. I'm like, man, I wasn't, this is bad. I wasn't aiming for his head and I
Mhm.
headshot him. Right. And so I'm thinking to myself, I screwed up. Not that it wasn't justified, but to me, it was like not where I wanted my bullets to go, kind of the training things kicking in. And then he, like, light switch, man, he sat down. He literally sat in the booth and was holding the cleaver like this. And so we're standing there and we're covering him. And I look over and I'm like, guys, I don't know if he's out or if he's faking it. Right. So we're holding on him, and Gulo starts yelling at him. And I remember one of those things, man, he was the shield guy and he had his pistol out. Right. And I look over and he's finger on the trigger, just amped up doing this. And I go, hey man, it's okay. And I look at him and he turns the shield and he's like, right. And all I can see is eyeballs. And I'm like, hey man, it's okay. I grab his hand. I'm like, take your finger off the trigger. It's okay. And he's like, oh, okay. I go, guys, I'm going to approach him. I'm going to kick the knife out of his hand and then we'll drag him out for medical attention. We have to at least attempt life-saving measures. So I told him, I was like, dude, put your gun down. I don't want to get shot. Right. So I go over and I kick the knife out of his hand and there's no blood. Right. He is nothing. Well, I reach up, the knife goes out of his hand and he's not responsive. And I grab him and I pull him forward to kind of just give him a good yank. He goes forward and dumps on the ground and just blood just goes everywhere. Wow. And now he's in a puddle. And I'm like, ugh, okay. So and Gula looks at me and goes, hey man, should we start CPR? I'm like, yes, but not here. This is now the scene. So he drags the guy out through that door that Chad was covering, gets him on the sidewalk. Now we have patrons from the restaurant, 30 feet, 40 feet away watching us do CPR. I look at it and I'm like, hey man, he's done. Like, just stop. Let's treat this as a scene now. And we'll call command. We'll do everything we need to do. So I start playing it back in my head and I look and I'm like, who was the prick that yelled, oh shit, in my ear when I started shooting? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I know it was Rory. So I look over at Rory. I'm like, dude, you want to talk about stressing me out, man? Like, I know this guy pulled a meat cleaver on me. He's like, what are you talking about? He goes, I was back in the doorway 15 feet from you. I'm like, no, man, you were over my shoulder and you were like, oh shit. He's like, Chris, I was almost outside. So that auditory enhancement was like, he was over my shoulder and all I heard was that, oh shit, thinking, I screwed up, man. I shot a dude that didn't need to be shot. But in my mind, meat cleaver, very, immediate response needed. Well, then I started thinking about it. I'm like, maybe it was me, because I've heard of those things where instead of auditory exclusion, you get auditory. Guys will hear the brass and stuff like that. And I started thinking about it, and I was like, man, I heard the shots like right here. Ears are ringing. And it was the craziest thing. What I saw when I shot him, first round went in, he buckled and he spun. The second round went under the armpit, yawed, traveled the spine, and the round went to the skull and it blew out a piece of skull about that big. And and it launched. And what I thought was me head shooting him was just the pressure of that round, that piece of skull coming out of his head. And I was like, man, this is some pretty crazy stuff. And that's kind of where I started. Got home, the investigation goes on. They do the interviews and stuff like that. And I'll talk about that because some leadership things come into play here. And I start thinking about it. And before I go into that, I'm like, man, I didn't have auditory exclusion. I understood everything I did. I felt my trigger reset. I saw my dot. Why? Right? Like, and it comes down, I called a friend of mine and I was like, hey dude, these are the things that I experienced. I was always told as a cop, oh my God, you're not
Mhm.
going to see your sights. You're not going to do this. You're not gonna-"
Mhm.
He's like, hey man, like you train a lot. So your body is conditioned. It was just like running a drill.
Mhm.
And I'm like, it was. So we go back, or I'll go back to now the investigation part of it. We were in a switch of command for our homicide unit, right? The homicide sergeant that was coming in was very new.
Mhm.
Not a lot of experience, a lot of time on the road, but not in investigations. We had a very, very cocky ID tech who
Mhm.
came from a very large agency in Phoenix and allegedly had run a bunch of OISs. And they were like,
Mhm.
hey, we don't know what we're doing. We're going to let her take lead. So the first thing she does is come up to me and very rude, starts talking about how I need your gun, I need your rifle, I need your pistol, I need your uniforms. And I'm like, what do you need my pistol for? She's like, well, you were in a shooting. I go, not with my pistol.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter. We're taking your pistol. I'm like, you're not taking my pistol. Like, I fired 2 shots, right? You can
Mhm.
count my rounds. I never drew my pistol. There's no need to take. So now we're in an argument,
Mhm.
right? And the sergeant's like, well, no, we're taking your pistol. I'm like, well, sergeant, I'm also a sergeant. So now we need to have somebody of higher rank
Mhm.
come. And she's like, well, I'm taking your, I had blood, a little bit of blood on my uniform and stuff
Mhm.
like that. She's like, we're taking your shirt, your vest, your shoes, everything. And I'm like, why can't I just be photographed? Like,
Mhm.
this is, I didn't want to say it's obviously clear cut, but
Mhm.
this is, you don't need to see, what am I going to go home in? My underwear? And I actually told her
Mhm.
that. She's like, I go, you want my underwear too? She's like, well, you don't need to be like that. I go, you don't understand what just occurred. Like, we were
Mhm.
just in a shooting. The dude that was to my right that witnessed it with the shield, he's obviously more upset than I am. Like, let's have a little compassion here. So my phone goes off and it's the sheriff, like the man,
Mhm.
right? And I look at it, and at the time it was Sheriff Paul Babu. Phenomenal dude, amazing leader, did a lot of bad press, a lot of bad rap, but probably one of the best sheriffs I ever worked for. And just a dude that got it, right?
Mhm.
Like, very chain of command oriented, right?
Mhm.
But was also a dude who would make a decision. And you never had, at least me, I never had to worry about anything with him where I was like, ooh, man,
Yeah.
you went in there and you were like, Sheriff, I screwed up. It'll never happen again. You may catch paper, you may catch
Mhm.
discipline, but it would be fair, right? So he calls me and, hey, sir, how are you? And he's like, hey, Chris, how's it going? It wasn't like, hey, Sergeant, it was, hey, Chris, very personal.
Mhm.
I'm like, sir, I'm doing okay. He's like, no, how are you? I'm like, I'm good. He's like, are you sure? I go, yeah. Do you need anything from me? I'm like, no, sir, I'm good, but I do have my concerns. And he's like, okay, what's that? I kind of voice, like, he's asking,
Mhm.
right? He's
Mhm.
asking. You're asking. I'm going to give you an answer. And I kind of tell him, he's like, no, F that, basically. He's like, no, we'll take what we need, but they're not taking your pistol.
Mhm.
He goes, if there's blood on the uniform and stuff, he goes, they may have to take that, but we'll get somebody to go to the house before you
Yeah.
turn over your uniform.
Mhm.
Like, okay, cool. Well, along with this, he was one of the leading guys that was completely against the Obama administration in Operation Gunrunner and Fast and Furious,
Mhm.
right? And he had made like, hey man, what you guys are doing is wrong.
Mhm.
And then Holder came on and said, those guys were in a pissing match.
Mhm.
And he had come on and said, hey, if any law enforcement in the United States not targets, but commits an act of violence or aggression against an illegal alien, we are going to investigate a 1983 violation. And so here I'm thinking in the back of my head, I'm like, I'm good, but on the federal level,
Mhm.
you never know,
Yeah.
right? And there was all these not accusations, but he was basically saying, hey, we're going to go after
Mhm.
American law enforcement under 1983 violations to keep us from doing our job or whatever.
Mhm.
And my sheriff was very well known at the time as being an outspoken opponent of that administration. So I'm
Mhm.
thinking, man, this could be bad.
Yeah.
And I said, so I go, sir, there is one thing. And he's like, what's that? I'm pretty sure this guy's an illegal alien. And I said, I'm worried. And he goes, what are you worried about? I go, well, you know that statement that Eric Holder said? I said, sir, this guy, and I just killed this dude. And I start kind of like, I'm a little concerned. And never forget it, man. He goes, Chris, excuse the expression because I'm going to curse here. He goes, Chris, go home to your family. He goes, go home to your wife. He goes, let me worry about the assholes in Washington. You're going to be fine. And I was like, copy that, sir. And I was like, this is a boss being a boss in a time of need. And he's like, anything you need, you got my phone number. I don't care what time of day, call me up. And I was like, you know what, man? That's where respect comes from. And to his credit, he was in Washington, D.C. for some kind of sheriff's deal on the border issue. This happened at 1 o'clock in the morning. I think it was 1:17 was the shots fired call that came out in Arizona. So it's 3:17 in the morning where he was at, or 4:17. He got the MI, the major incident page or email, and freaking called to check on me.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
That left a huge impression, because he could have been like, yeah, hey, Sergeant, Lieutenant, just handle it. And that dude made the point to wake up, call me and go, are you, and that was the most important thing at the time, are you good? I was like, yep, I'm good. 100%. And then for him to sit there and listen to me and go, don't worry about that. That's not your job. It's basically what he told me. He's like, it's my job to protect you. And I was like, wow, that was probably in my career, probably like the top 3 things that happened where I was like, and this is awesome. This is a cool dude to have to work for. So go through the investigation. Of course, I'm cleared, right? That investigation, because of the way it was handled, and again, it's no knock on my agency. It was just inexperience, and we hadn't had a lot of OASs up until that point. It caused some revisions, right? So the subject that I ended up shooting to this day has never been identified.
Wow.
And that's
crazy.
2011. Unknown, NCIC, what is it? Liverpool, the whole 9 yards. I shot the man with no name,
Wow.
So this guy has never been identified. No known associations in any country that we can know of. And because of that, we're now a year into the investigation and they hadn't closed the criminal portion of it out. And I'm like, in the sheriff, right? And I think he was so busy with everything. He was busy being a sheriff, right? Like, I don't think he realized. And then I came in and I was like, hey guys, like, I have a pending homicide charge over my head that's been cleared by the county attorney's office as far as like that side of it. But until I get that letter, especially with what's going on and being said in the federal authorities, like, let's show me a little love here. And ended up coming down to the fact that they looked at it and they're like, yeah, we need to completely revise this because we may never identify this guy and we just can't leave an open case on you for the next 40 years of your life. So that caused some changes. It also caused, if you're in an OIS, they have to provide you with some type of update monthly. And within 3 months, if it has not been closed, they have to give you a reason why. Like, hey, we're still waiting on ballistics, or hey, we still have to interview this person, whatever it is, which was really for the better because it sucked to deal with that, but in the end, it was better for the guys that came after me.
Yeah.
So that was the good part that came out of it. And you get to see people's true colors as far as where they stand as a boss. And phenomenal guy. Like if I were to do a thing on leadership, he would be one of the people I would absolutely bring in. You know what I mean? So so that was the first one. Second one, fast forward 5 years, and again on patrol, and I'm running the FTO squad at this point. So I've got God, we had just done a mass hiring. So I've got probably 10 to 12 patrol cars out there on FTO, 2-man cars. So that's like 24
Wow.
units, right?
Yeah.
Ton of stuff going on. Santan Valley is a very busy area. And Brian Hillman and I are talking about like, hey man, let's grab coffee, and because we got a few hours left on our shift or whatever. Captain Rank or Lieutenant Rankin at the time is out. He's doing patrol lieutenant stuff. Great dude. And he hits us up on text. He's like, hey, let's all meet up at the local Circle K. It's on Ironwood. Let's grab a QT actually. He's like, let's grab a coffee. And we would just get together as sergeants, lieutenants, and do sergeant lieutenant stuff. Just talk about crap and how's this going? How's that going? Hey man, how's the family? Whatever. So I am southbound on Ironwood. Hunter, Lieutenant Rankin, is at Gary and Combs, I think. No, not Gary and Combs. Wherever. He's there. And Brian Hillman's behind me. So all of a sudden, hear Rankin pop up, and he's like, Lincoln 15, I think was his call sign. Lincoln 15 to Lincoln 16, whatever it was. 900 is MCSO in pursuit. And they're like, not that we know of, sir. We haven't been advised. He's like, well, I just had an MCSO Maricopa County car go by us chasing a vehicle with heavy front end damage. License siren code 3. And he's like, I'm going to assist. So he gets in behind him, and he's calling it out. And then all of a sudden the alert tone goes off. Hey, be advised, the vehicle MCSO is following is suspect in an aggravated assault attempted homicide. And they're like, subject rammed a vehicle at Gary and maybe Gary and Hunt, whatever it was. And after he rammed the vehicle, he attempted to run the parties inside the vehicle over as they get out to check for damage twice.
Wow.
So now Lieutenant Rankin's like, okay, we're in active pursuit, right? So as we're coming, this guy takes the back way and pops out south of me now. So now he's coming at me head on, me and Brian. And Hunter's behind him chasing him. And Hunter gets on the radio to say, hey, be advised the subject's going wrong way in traffic, intentionally trying to hit vehicles head on. All right. So on my head, I heard the initial aggravated assault, attempted homicide, whatever you want to call it, come out. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, if this guy doesn't stop, this is going to go bad real fast because, we have an obligation to protect the community from this type of activity. And so I'm going south. At the time, I was driving a 4x4 Tahoe, police package Tahoe with big push bumper on it. And as I'm coming south, he was driving a 1500 Chevy Z71, right? And he comes in and he cuts right in front of me, wrong way into the intersection, and cuts right in front of me and starts going westbound on Combs Road. And I'm like, hey, and right behind him on his tail is Hunter, and doing stuff lieutenants are not supposed to do, as we were told. And so he's now in active pursuit, and it's myself behind him, Brian Hillman, and then some patrol guys behind us. And hauling ass, and I hear Hunter go, hey man, he's intentionally going head on. We're going to have to take him out. Is there anybody pit certified? And Brian Hillman is like, hey LT, I'm pit certified. If we can start clearing the road, I'll get up there and take him out. All right, cool. So I tell Brian, I said, hey dude, I'm going to start straddling the line, and I'll start pushing traffic off the road. You come up on my right and get behind me, and we'll leapfrog you up to get this guy off the road. He's like, perfect. So I start kind of drifting the line, pushing traffic off. Well, as that happens, I think Hunter, he goes off-road. He goes up over these railroad tracks, and there's a large dirt pit over here. He goes off, turns left, so he's going southbound into this dirt lot. And Hunter pulls over to kind of fan out so we can do a felony stop. And I hear Hunter go, he's off-road. I think he's going to bail. All right, perfect, right? We get him on foot. We stop the immediate threat with the vehicle. So Hunter fans right. Hillman comes up the center, and as I go, I come up on the left-hand fan. And as I'm going to stop, he comes out. You've been in Arizona, Brody's.
Yep.
creates this huge dust cloud.
Mhm.
He's just creating all kinds of dust. He comes up out of the dust and goes head on with me. Boom. And I had just taken my seatbelt off. So when he hits me, I braced with my right leg, my left arm. And I'm like, bam. And I didn't realize how hard the impact was at the time. And I go to get out and he hits me again. Boom. And I'm like, oh shit, you know. So I open my door and I put my foot on the door to keep it from closing in on me. And he backs up, and I think he had stunned himself. Something occurred where it was a change of behavior for a minute. He backs up, and I jump out of the car and I draw down on him. And probably a little bit further than me to you. And I'm giving him commands. And I take my Surefire and I light him up. And I see him, and I kind of look over to see where my guys are. And I see Brian Hillman's other side of my hood, and then Hunter is kind of the other side of Brian's hood, but coming out, kind of like, hey, dude, just stop, right? And as he does that, he backs up, and I see him look at me, and then he looks at them, and he looks at me, and he looks at them, and he starts to turn the wheel. And the car's in reverse, and I see him focus on Hunter, and he drops it in drive, and I fired 3 shots. I was like, I got to stop this dude right now, or he's going to kill somebody. Again, right, that slow down of time, I lost track of the MCSO deputy during all of this. And I knew he was involved, and I remember him kind of leading the pack. So Glock 35 at the time, iron sights, we didn't have red dots at the time. And I'm like, I have to stop this guy now. I have to score headshots. So I bring the front sight up, and I'm going to I'm going to shoot this guy. And I went, I don't know where that deputy is. So I remember looking over and going, okay, my backstop is clear. And, you know, people talk about weird things. I could see the ridges on my front sight.
Wow.
I could count the ridges on my front sight. And I was like, there it is. And I sent 3 rounds. And I put 3 rounds to the windshield at kind of an oblique angle. And I scored, I didn't know it at the time, but I hit 3 headshots.
Wow. So
he rolls, kind of comes around. Hunter and Brian hear the shots as he's rolling by, and they shoot at the car. And love Brian to death. But he was good at neutralizing the vehicle's bed, right? In the rear tire. Hunter being a lieutenant, I think he was like, I want days off too. Crack, you know, keyed went off. But vehicle rolls to a stop, and it's still running. I hadn't known at that point that I had hit this guy. I just did my best. What I thought, I'm like, man, I'm going to do what I can. Dark, dust, moving target. He rolls in, and Hunter's like, hey, are you okay? And I'm like, dude, I'm hurt. Like, my hips messed up, and I hurt my shoulder. And he's like, you're out. And I'm like, no, I'm not out. And at this point, I had started asking for SWAT, because Alva, Phil's the SWAT guy, Chad. So we get there, we're fan out on the vehicle again, and I'm like, hey, does anybody have a shield? And Hunter's like, yeah, I got a shield. I'm like, okay, cool. When my SWAT guys get here, we're going to form a hasty team. We'll go up, contact him to see if he needs medical aid or he's dead, whatever, right? We'll take him into custody. So I come running, and I'm standing with the shield, and we're holding down on him. And of course, here comes Batman Phil. And he's like, hey, bro, you good? And I'm like, yeah, man, I'm good. And I'm like, but I need your help, dude. We're going to form a hasty team. And Chad shows up. So we form a hasty team, and we go up and open the door. And that's when we found him deceased. And it was definitely different, because at that point, there was so many things going on. Like we had the shooting that occurred. We had this scene over. It was a multi-mile scene that had initiated off of something that a patrol officer had done. Basically, she was taking the collision, and now this had escalated into multiple miles, and turned into an OIS. And again, we back off once we realized the scene was secure and we were the involved, because Hillman had shot and Hunter had shot. So you had the two sergeants on for the county, because the other sergeants were off, and the lieutenant, the night watch commander, had fired, and we're like, who do we put in charge?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we're the bosses. So Hunter's like, hey, Phil, you're in charge. And Phil's like, well, what do you want me to do? He's like, I don't know, figure it out. But I've been in a shooting, so I ain't saying shit, right? And we're like, okay, well, this is gonna go well. But to all those guys' credit, man, everybody's like, okay, let's lock down the scene. Let's do this. Let's get bodies over here.
Mm-hmm.
And Hunter and I were still, and Brian were still directing everything, but it was very limited because now we're suspects, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that OIS. So classic Hunter, you know, amazing guy, man. Like, you know, I'll talk about him in the leadership portion here in a minute. Our chief deputy pulls up because they couldn't get a hold of anybody else, right? Like the chief answers the phone. They're like, hey, sir, Lieutenant Rankin, Sergeant Lapre, and Sergeant Hillman have been involved in a shooting. And he's like, what? And they're like, yeah. So Steve Henry was a unique individual, very, very, very arrogant. Like if you got him away, he was an okay dude, but very arrogant when it was Chief Henry, it was Chief Henry. I am God, right? So he comes up and he looks at Phil and he's like, you're with me. Here's my pad. Write everything down. I tell you to. Phil's like looking at me like, oh. But he comes over to us. And again, one of those funny stories in true Hunter style, he's like, I want you three guys over there. Okay. The chief looks at us and goes, anyone of you guys want to tell me how two sergeants and a lieutenant get into a shooting? And Hunter looks at him and goes, we were leading from the front, sir. And I start laughing, right? Because I'm like, classic.
Yeah. And
he looks at me and he's like, all three of you guys go stand somewhere else and don't talk to each other. Get out of my face. And I was like, okay. But that was the type of humor that in the right moment was needed, you know, and to the point where even the chief was like, all right, you got me on that one.
Yeah.
Interesting point, right? Homicide shows up and they're getting the story and they're like, homicide sergeant, awesome dude. Absolutely love the guy. But he comes over and he kind of looks at me and he's like, hey man, what were you thinking? I don't know. And I go, what do you mean? What was I thinking? He's like, you know, somebody said it looked like this guy was trying to get away. And I go, really? Why don't you go look at the front of my patrol car?
Yeah.
And I think it was stress on his part because you had so many scenes. Then you had a dude that had been shot in a vehicle that was not armed, right? And Joel Benucci, who was the senior homicide detective, is a phenomenal investigator. He pulls the sergeant aside, and I found out all this later. He's like, hey, man, it's protection of third party. Like, this guy was going to kill somebody. So
he was armed.
Yes, exactly. He was armed with a freaking anything way more dangerous than a freaking pistol or a rifle.
Yeah.
So then they come up to me and they had kind of changed protocol a little bit. And they were like, hey, if you want to make a statement, you can make a statement now. We'll do your walkthrough. And at this point, I'm like, hey, man, I'm 100% good with what I did. Like, this dude needed to be stopped. I will make my statement right now. And I remember one of the other guys was like, hey, are you sure about this? I go, I'm 100% positive, man. I've like, if you give me a day or two, I may start thinking, well, you know, I said, I'm going to make my decision based off of what I know right now. So I went through the whole thing. I was like, hey, we had an aggravated assault, right? He's now a fleeing felon. He's going head on into traffic. He's potentially going to cause harm to at least another person, maybe a family. So you have that protection of third party. And I'm just listing it out. And I said, and then when he turns westbound on the cones, I visually watched him intentionally go into traffic. That is absolutely justifiable homicide at that point because we had to negotiate and deal with that threat right now. And Joel, of course, was like being Joel. He's just like, he didn't tell me, but you could tell he's like, yeah, you're good, man. Like, this is, and then of course, county attorney comes out. County attorney reviews it, and everything gets cleared. We're good to go on it. And
They came out there on scene. At the time.
We're very fortunate because they come out on scene.
Wow.
They've been out on every OIS that I've been on scene for, or as a lieutenant went out to, because my time in investigations, we've been fortunate where they will come out for that. Yeah, it's a good thing because they get to see it as right after it occurred. So I think that was a catalyst for more change, because I'm sure you've seen it in your career, man, where you take a cop that's a good cop and it doesn't have any issues as far as like decision making and stuff like that. But for some reason, when there's a person that is not intent on hurting them, they will hesitate. You and I pointing guns at each other, that officer has no issue. But if I'm like, drop the gun, and actually, they shoot the victim or whatever, and then the cops shoot him, there's usually some type of, I shouldn't say usually, but there is that hesitation for some officers because they are not in direct jeopardy. And that was really a turning point for our agency to point out the obvious of like, hey man, it's not just about you and you and
you
bad
have responsibility
guy.
For
And it really, because there's always scuttlebutt, right? Like, Lapre shot that dude and he was in a vehicle just driving. And then there was an after action and there was discussion and like, no, this was absolutely justified. Like, it doesn't just come down to you and the bad guy. It comes down to you protecting the populace from threats. So again, something else I think that was for the better of the agency. And now I will tell you, man, that Pinal County has a pretty good reputation.
Nice.
And I'm proud of those guys that are there. Even the lower guys, man, that are new dudes or the guys that have been there a while that are not necessarily the top performers, whether they're suffering from burnout or they're just like, hey man, I just want insurance to take care of my family. You know what? They get it. I will say 99% of that agency understands.
Wow, that's awesome.
And that's a great win for us.
That is.
And that level of training has definitely increased the survivability of our officers and also the protection of our citizens in Pinal County. So it's an amazing thing, man. It really is. And it's been for the better.
That's awesome.
With that one, as far as the physiological effects, visual enhancement for sure. Auditory, no auditory exclusion on that one. It's a funny side note with Brian shooting. And I looked at him, I'm like, really, dude? Because then he was shooting the car. He was in like this perfect Weaver stance. And I had just got done shooting and I go, look at him, I'm like, really, dude, Weaver? And he's like, muscle memory, dude. I'm like, okay, whatever. That's just like, oh, shit. As the gunfire, he just gets done. He looks at me, he's like, muscle memory, dude. My ears ringing. But overall, I contribute everything that occurred in that emotional control and what I was able to accomplish with thinking like, hey man, where'd that deputy go? I have to clear my backstop, right? 104 firearm safety rules. What's your backstop? And God, man, I don't know if I could live with myself if I shot and hit another officer who was in my backstop that because of tunnel vision I didn't see.
Well, you got night, you got dust, you got visual, obstructions,
lights going off, and it's on a railroad track. I mean, it was an insane scene, and it's still, even with all that, if I had shot somebody that didn't deserve it, man, it would have been terrible. So the calmness and chaos, the ability to go, where's he at? Look, clear my backstop, all because of training. I'm not some Superman. I'm just a dude that instead of golf, I like shooting. And I think that processing of whether it's inside a shoot house from SWAT, on the range, doing, as Dave calls it, full mission profiles, that stress inoculation, I think all of that had allowed me to process that information. It's It's very similar, and I'm sure you've seen it too, where you take a dude that's on the mats, right? That has that ability to kind of not stress out and think about the next process. Like he's rolling around on this dude. He's like, hey man, I need to go for this position or that position. And he's a step ahead. We don't see the same level of inability that we do on guys like that because they're already processing, you know, and they're like, I've been here before. The data file is there. He's just pulling out, okay, this one fits, right? So, hey, this is a shooting drill that I'm doing in real time. And you're just pulling that file. Yep. I shot through car windows before. Here it is. This is exactly that drill I did 3 years ago. Or, hey, this is the arm bar I got 6 months ago, pulling that data file. And that, I believe, is the absolute peak of why you train the way you do, because it allows you to process that information and make really good judgments in really bad times.
Yeah.
One of the best things that was ever told to me, actually to my team, not me, I was there, was Dave Bush, right? Gentleman that we both know, looked at us and we were going over a bunch of stuff. And he said, you know, a gunfight is nothing but an ordinary task completed under extraordinary circumstances. And I'm like, man, that's perfect. That's the best way to add it up. With the actual, I said I'd go back to the vehicle. He had rammed my car so bad he had torn the sheet metal on my, or not the sheet metal, the metal on my pit bumper.
Wow.
Yeah, the rhino bar, whatever the hell you call it. But I didn't realize it was that bad. And when I got home in the morning and I looked at it, it was all bent and it had actually ripped the metal.
Wow.
And I ended up with a pretty good hip injury to this day and a torn rotator cuff. But you know what, man? The good guys went home, and unfortunately, that dude had to suffer the consequences. But it is what it is, man. You know, nobody. I don't want to say because I don't want to say whether he was innocent or guilty. Right? He was in the commission of a violent felony.
Right.
And he paid the consequences for his actions. And we didn't lose any good citizens of this country. So,
which could have easily happened in that case.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take much in a position, especially when you got left hand on right hand. It doesn't take much to sustain an injury like that. I mean, you know, just even on the map, you're not dealing with a vehicle ramming your car in. So it doesn't take much to you know, to have to walk away with the issue that now you're going to have the rest of your life.
I definitely have a permanent injury from it. You can see it in my gait. You can see it in my walk. And it's just, hey man, you spend 30 years in this career, 25 years in this career, you're going to have injuries.
Yeah.
You know?
Of course.
But overall, man, it was a win for everybody that night, and everybody went home. So, you know, as far as like the leadership side, man, some phenomenal guys. Like Hunter ended up going on to become my captain, and I became his lieutenant in criminal investigation. So when I promoted in 2017 to lieutenant, they did the rotation where they pulled the captain out, put him on. I think Rob went back to patrol, and they ended up putting me over in. I promoted in place in the criminal investigations over SWAT, narcotics, and smuggling because of my background. And Hunter came up as the bureau commander. And you know, we'll talk about some things here in a minute that he did for me and the team in the past. But Hunter always had a reputation as like, Hunter's the scary guy, you know. But with that, he matured as a captain and made me a way better lieutenant than I could ever be. Because Hunter was the guy that people are like, oh man, Hunter's going to yell at you. Hunter's going to do this. So, old school cop, right? It just is what it is, man. Like we didn't have teddy bears and that type of thing that we talked about. Yeah. And you took an ass chewing and you went back out and did your job. And I kind of grew up in that culture, and I was not a disciplinarian as far as being a lieutenant, but I would chew some ass. Like, hey guys, I expect better from you, you know, and then it was over with. And what I expected from Hunter was that, and he ends up being this very politically good guy. And when I say politically good, I mean politically to the point where he's very tactful, and to the point where I would come in and I'm like, oh yeah, Hunter's gonna like chew this dude's ass, and I'm gonna get to chew his ass. And he's like, Lieutenant, would you go? And I'm like, yeah, man, you know, I can't believe you did this. And I'm just, and then he'd be like, all right, are you done, LT? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, man, I just, expect better of you and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, Hunter's going to give it, the captain's going to give it to him, you know? And Hunter would be like, well, now that you heard what the lieutenant said, I'm going to tell you what I think. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, what?
He lets you do the dirty work.
And he's like, with all the bad things that just may have been said, here's some good things that we saw. And I'm just like,
who are you?
Yeah, and but then that started to rub off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey man, I see the benefit of it now.
Yeah.
And again, it was just, I made a lot of mistakes as a boss, man. Like as a lieutenant, because of the culture I grew up in. When I promoted to sergeant, I'm like, okay, hey, like, when do I go to sergeant school? They're like, you see those stripes? You know what you're doing? No, man. Like, I need somebody to tell me how to do stuff. You'll figure it out. Same thing when I promoted a lieutenant. That was definitely a lacking issue in our agency. There was no, hey, you're going to shadow this lieutenant for a month, 2 months, 2 weeks, whatever. And he saw that missing gap. He was kind of able to come in and mentor me to be a much better guy. And nice. I wish he came in a little bit late into my lieutenant career as far as my CIB captain. And I wish I had him at the beginning, because it probably would have made things even better. Definitely a guy that I would look up to and go, hey man, I want your opinion on this, because I know how professional you can be, but still getting your point across, So dude, I absolutely definitely appreciated on my side. And he is actually the same guy. We had a pretty significant incident one night, man. It's one of those stories that kind of sticks with you. In SWAT, man, you get to see the initial, right? You get, hey man, bad things are happening. Call these dudes, they're going to handle it. And then once it's over, they go away, right? They take their green shirts off, they put their tan shirts back on, they go back to patrol, whatever it is. FTO squad, again, my FTO squad was made up of mostly SWAT guys. It's just the way it happened. The dudes put in for my squad. And we get a call out in Arizona City, and we're all working Casa Grande at the time. We're trying to get some good calls for service, some good violent calls for service for our OITs. And Arizona City is just kind of south and east of Casa Grande, pretty bad area. And we hear this call come out where older guy has his son in the house, basically hostage situation is the way it sounds. So we're eating and we're like, hey man, let's head to this call. So I roll up on scene. Again, I'm a sergeant and Hunter's a lieutenant. Hunter was a patrol lieutenant at this point. I was a patrol sergeant, but we hadn't had the interactions. He was the motor guy. He was the motor sergeant, love motors, traffic guy. I'm the SWAT guy, right? Not exactly the best blend. A lot of respect for each other. But there was no, it's freaking motor. Oh, it's freaking SWAT guy.
They don't mesh too well.
Yeah, exactly. Give the head nod. It's like, well, you got your boots, but I got my green Velcro. Yeah. So we get on scene. And Hunter's like, this is what we got. I'm like, okay, cool. Right. Got it. So I said, do we have hostages? He's like, supposedly there's a guy in the house, but we're not making contact with him. Like, all right, cool. So I tell Phil, again, Batman, right? Bruce Wayne is now Batman. He puts his SWAT stuff on. And I said, hey, dude, go in the back and see if you can find a position of advantage. Phil's one of the snipers. And see if you can get up and see if you can get some info in the windows or whatever. It's like, all right. So again, it's me, Chad. I forgot who the other guy was there, and then a couple of new guys with us. And he's like, hey, Sarge, he goes, I think we got a hostage. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, there's a guy. He goes, you guys have eyes on the suspect, right? I'm like, yeah. He goes, I have a guy in the back 3-4 corner bedroom window that's holding a sign up and saying, help me. And I'm like, are you serious? He goes, yeah, I'm looking at him through my optics right now. I'm like, okay, cool. I said, can you talk to him? He's like, I'm too far away. So Chad's like Dave's size, 6'5" or whatever, 6'6". And this house, the way it was built, you go around the backyard and the bedroom window was a little bit higher elevated than normal because it was built up on blocks. So I'm like, this, and Chad's, chest level with the guy. So I'm like, hey man, we got to go see why this guy's not getting out of the house. He's holding a sign. And then he puts up another sign because he could obviously see. And he's like, I'm not the bad guy. Please do not hurt me. And we're like, okay, this is legit. And then he's got his driver's license up, and Phil able to read his driver's license, like, get us. And I'm like, hey, dude, tell him to get out of the freaking house. And so Chad and I go around the back, and Chad's like, hey, get out of the freaking window, man. Like, I got you. And he's like, I can't. I'm handicapped. And I'm like, okay, now I feel like a prick, right? And I go, okay. And I said, well, here's what we're going to do. I said, Chad, the window was probably enough where I would, like, on my tippy toes, I could get my carbine in, and it was a corner fed room. So as soon as you open the door, strong wall, and then right hand wall, and then the window. So Chad's big, tall guy. I tell Chad, I said, hey man, open the window. You pull the dude out. I'll provide cover if the guy comes through. We'll light him up. And he's like, okay. Well, Phil's like, hey, Lapre, stay low. He goes, because if that door opens and that dude's got a weapon, I'll take it. I'm like, all right, I trust Phil. So we open the window to get this guy out, and he is literally like got MS or something. His hips are kind of messed up. His legs are all bowed. So it wasn't like we could just pull this dude out. We kind of had to finesse him through the window because it's a slider window. And of course, we extract the guy, pull him around to the house, and kind of hand him off to his family. And the dude inside was his stepdad. Probably would have killed him that night. And prior to this, I tell Hunter, I'm like, hey man, I understand what you have, but get somebody working on a search warrant. He's like, a search warrant? Why the hell do I need a search warrant? We have exigency. And I'm like, we do, but we don't. You know what I mean? I said, and this goes to a prolonged event. We get the guy, let's say we get the guy out, and now it's a barricade. We're going to mess this house up with gas and damage and stuff like that. We need a search warrant. He's like, So he ends up getting one of the people on scene to go write a warrant. And we get this is back to where we get the person out now, and now it's a barricade, right? So long story short, we end up gating entry to the security door. And right as we do that, the dude had closed the door. So we were just trying to get the security door out of the way. And as we do that, we're backing off, and I'm on less lethal shotgun at the time. I transitioned to less lethal. And this dude opens the door, and he's got a machete. And I'm like, oh, it's fucking on. And he turns, he sees me, and I, boom, and I hit him right off the bat. And he takes around, and he's still kind of holding the machete, but he's an old guy. And so he turns, and I'm like, he is not getting into one of those back rooms because I don't know what he's got back there. And I just start lighting him up. Boom. But I hit him both back hips. And then as he's going down, I smoked him in the right calf. And he tumbles over a couch. And a brand new young kid still on FTO with me. Not with me, but with one of the guys. He's on my tail. And I come over with the shotgun, the less lethal shotgun. Like, if I got to put this dude another round on him to kind of get him under control. And this guy lets out this hellacious scream. Like, I am seeing the Grim Reaper. I am going to die scream. And of course, Chad and those guys jump on him. They get him detained. We get outside, and Kyle Griswold's his name. He's like, Sarge, and talk just like Ehor, man. The most good dude, but just the most dry, boring dude in the world to talk to. And he's like, that guy thought you were coming to finish him off, Sarge. I ain't never heard a grown man scream like that. I look at him and I'm just like, what? He's like, you didn't hear that scream? I go, yeah, I heard it, but I didn't think anything of it. He goes, that man thought it was his last minute on earth. So we get done with this, man. And we did our job, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody's happy. We rescued a hostage, legit, how this guy had a weapon and shit like that. And I'm sitting there, and it's Chad, Phil, I can't remember who else was there with us. There was one other guy from SWAT. And of course, Griswold, because Griswold's part of the entry, is a new guy. And I get bumped, like, boom. How? And I feel like somebody grabbed me. Mm-hmm. And it's this guy. And he wraps his arms around me, and he looks up, and he's like, hey, man. In a very, like, gentle voice. Mm-hmm. And I really can't do it. I'm getting a little emotional right now. He wraps his arms around me. He's like, thank you for saving my life. And the most sincere, like, he really thought he was going to die that night. Mm-hmm. And I kind of looked, and, you know, I gave him like like SWAT guy, I can't be hugging you, man. And dude, that hit me hard. You know, it was probably one of the most rewarding things in my career, because we did a phenomenal job that night. Mm-hmm. And when I say we, my guys and I, like, it mm-hmm. wasn't me, you know. And I pulled the dudes aside later, and I'm like, hey, man, that's why we're cops. Mm-hmm. It's not about writing tickets. It's not about, you know, going out and talking to people about their barking dog. I said, it's mm-hmm. about taking care of people. Mm-hmm. And that, to this day, man, left a huge mark on me, just because it was satisfying. Mm-hmm. You know, and at that point, I'm 15 years into my career, mm-hmm. you know, and it was kind of a rejuvenating point where it's like, yeah, there's still, for that dude to do what he did and thank me and thank mm-hmm. my team and show that kind of, like, just thank you and that heartfelt expression, it was impressive. Mm-hmm. Like, it rejuvenated me to be even better. That's awesome. And like, I still get emotional about it, because you, mm-hmm. you do a lot of weird shit in your career, mm-hmm. and there's not a lot of thanks, you mm-hmm. know. And for that guy, it was pretty heartfelt, and to this, like, it was awesome, you know. And so Hunter recognizes that, and comes up to me after, and of course, I wouldn't say we were screaming, mm-hmm. right? But it was a loud discussion on this search warrant thing. Oh yeah. And he comes up to me after, and he's like, hey, I appreciate you for telling me about the search warrant thing. And I'm like, and at this point, it wasn't even a thing. You know, I'm like, whatever, I don't care. And I go, what are you talking about? And he's like, you know, I understand now what you meant by the search warrant. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, okay, dude. He's like, no, I want to let you know, man. He goes, usually you guys just come in and trash everything and mm-hmm. leave a mess for us. He goes, but that was pretty incredible. Wow. And I'm like, that's awesome. Whatever you need, boss. We're here, man. Like, that's what we're mm-hmm. here for, right? So we end up leaving, man. And I get a notification that I need to, my team, the guys that were there that night, need to appear at the awards banquet. And I'm like, I'm not about awards. Yeah. You know, it's like, whatever, man. I don't want to go put my Class A's on and listen to a bunch of people talk and all this stuff. And I respectfully request to not attend, right? In my email. And the next email is from the sheriff's secretary. And it's like, per Sheriff Babu, you will be in attendance, so please clear your calendar. And I'm like, well, this isn't good. Yeah. They're either going to fire us or something's happening. Well, Hunter had wrote up this letter, man, and put me, Chad and Griswold actually in for the Medal of Valor for saving that guy's life.
Wow.
And Phil kind of got cheated, man. He was the guy that initiated the whole, like, we have a legit hostage situation. And I think he got a meritorious service award. But it was pretty incredible to stand up there, man, and look at these guys and go, yeah, that's
cool.
We got recognized for the right thing.
Yeah.
You know, did it reach the Medal of Valor? I doubt it. You know, but the fact that the guys got recognized and people saw that was impressive. And again, it goes back to leadership, right? Like a couple other incidents that we had we had another hostage rescue, taken active gunfire. The hardest decision in my life, by far, the shootings, jumping in canals, pulling people out of sinking vehicles, crazy stuff. The hardest decision I ever had was we had a hostage rescue on the west side of Casa Grande, very, very dangerous neighborhood. Dude I dealt with a million times. Leonard Skinner was his name. He's high on PCP, methamphetamine, fentanyl, and he's a diabetic, so he's going into diabetic psychosis.
Oh yeah.
And I won't bore with the story on the details on this one, but he barricades up. We rescue his mom, his grandmother, and his sister from inside the house.
Wow.
And as this is going on, we're making a plan because he was now barricaded in a fortified concrete room. Like one wall is definitely concrete. The other side was a deep corner with no windows. So we couldn't get an angle on him. And the plan, very limited resources that night. I had called I called Chandler PD for relief. They were not available. I called Pima County. They weren't available. So I started looking at other resources. I called HSI's SRT because they have hostage rescue capability, right? Gas plan and all that stuff. And I'm like, man, I can't get anybody to answer the phone.
Wow.
So I even called my buddies at DEA and I'm like, hey, Brian, do you have, HRT capability? And he's like, man, we don't. We can come up as a support element, but I can't take primary. I'm like, okay, never mind. So I'm like, it's us, guys. So we formulate a plan. Make a long story short, we put a dog in the room, and right as we push the dog into the room through a window, the dude starts shooting pow, pow, through the wall. How the dog did not get shot, I believe he had either some phenomenal vision and saw the gun go off, or he heard the crack of the bullet before we did because of the hearing sensitivity. But I remember the dude, Leonard, was in the deep corner, and we put the dog up because we didn't know if he had a gun at that point. We were being told no, but we were also being told yes, he does. And the family was like, yeah, he had a gun. But then the other family, because they thought we were going to kill him. Very like gang infested black neighborhood where they don't trust the police, and they were afraid like if we tell them the truth, they're just going to kill him, right? And this was 2020, 21, so 22, so kind of height of the BLM thing. And as soon as we put that dog up, the dog looked in the deep corner, and I saw him kind of do that, and the bullet like skimmed his fur. He had a little patch of fur. He goes in, and the dog goes in and starts doing a circle movement because the room was filled with gas. And the dude's Leonard's shooting at us to the wall, boom, 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 boom. And I come around because I didn't have a lot of senior team leaders. My team was pretty young at the time, and I didn't have a lot of my guys there. I think we had 12 dudes for this. And I come around. My two window guys were there trying to engage him. They couldn't. I come around, and my assault element is staged on the door. And there's gunfire going off. And I look at those guys, and I'm like, hardest decision of my life, man. I'm like, I'm potentially sending these guys to go get killed. Not something I want on my conscience. And Matt Carter, very hardened combat Marine, fucking awesome dude. And then there's Jeff McKean, who was also former combat vet. I looked up at Carter, and he must have saw the expression of stress on my face. And he's like, we got you, LT. And I'm like, And on the count of, I kind of give him the nod, and he's like, "We got you."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Go." And man, those dudes went in that house and just performed perfect, you know. And by the grace of God, we didn't kill that dude, man.
Wow.
When they breached the door, his gun was empty. My guys recognized that, dropped their guns, not like dropped their guns, but slung them and went in and proceeded to handle it with hands.
Wow.
And the ability to recognize that and just deal with that because when they made entry, we were still taking gunfire. And by far the hardest thing I've ever had to do. My shootings were cakewalk to that. To potentially putting men that work for me in a place where it's not me, not something I ever wanted to do again. They were phenomenal.
Wow.
They just absolute heroes then. It really pissed me off because we had a county attorney on scene because the way it was going. And Jim writes it up. Jim Hurd was the attorney and writes it up. And he's like, "Hey, it's the most incredible thing I've ever seen."
Wow.
Shorthand version is like, you read this letter and you're like, "Yeah." And I'm the boss. I'm standing in the doorway as like kind of commanding everybody. And I don't know if you can add the audio, but I've got the audio of that. And
wow, that'd be cool.
You can hear me giving commands like, "Hey, I need this, and there's pow, 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 gunfire going off. And then one of my guys calls out he's injured. And I don't know what the extent of the injury is. So I'm in the door, the gunfire's going off. My guys are taking this dude. It's just, you can hear the dog in the background going fucking ape shit. Sorry, I apologize for that, but going crazy. I got family members outside the house. I hear the gunfire. They think we're inside killing this dude. Pure chaos. And Jim writes up this phenomenal letter. And basically, these guys should get awards for valor. And we have a meeting about it. And somebody higher than my level and above Hunter's level is like, "Yeah, no, they're just doing their job."
Wow.
And we'll give it to this one guy. And I'm like, it wasn't that one guy. It was 5 or 6 dudes that accomplished this mission under crazy circumstances and didn't kill a dude that we very easily could have killed.
Could have, yeah.
And I probably shouldn't have been the prick that I was, but I said, "Hey, man, if you're not giving it to everybody, nobody's getting it." You know what I mean? Because there wasn't one guy that stood out that night. It was a team effort, and these dudes did some pretty heroic shit. And we ended up getting a meritorious unit citation out of it. So, whatever. But again, man, that whole leadership thing, we are in a position right now where we need critical, hard decision making for law enforcement. I've been a cop. It'll be 30 years next year, if you include my time and my reserve time, right? You've been around far longer than I have. Not far longer, but 37 years, right? And still around it. I've never seen it as bad as I have.
Yeah.
And it's 100% due to leadership. We have bosses that are afraid to tell it like it is. And we have bosses that are afraid to make the right decisions based off of status instead of the right thing to do. And they're more worried about sometimes their appearance on social media than they are doing the right thing. And I don't know how we fix it. I know how we fix it, but it's not, a lot of people are not going to like it.
It's not an easy fix.
It's not an easy fix. We have to get back to the roots of what our job is, and that's protecting the public. Look at any mission statement, whether it's the sheriff's office, a state police agency, a county agency, and it's to keep the peace, protect people from harm, and protect their property. Everything else is supplemental to that. Our primary mission is peacekeeping and protecting people from bad guys. And property crime comes lower than that. Protect the peace of the people and protect their property. And we have gotten to the point where it's like, well, how does it look? It's not about how it looks, man. Like, there's no easy way to arrest a bad guy, right? 85%, 90% of the community is going to comply when you're like, you're under arrest. 5% may be like, wait, hold on a minute. You know, you got to use a little bit of pressure to get them in cuffs. 7 to 10% of that may actually resist, and it does not look good. But that does not require like, oh, sorry, we can't use force on you because of these reasons. It may look bad. Well, you know what, man? Like, I would much rather use force quickly and end it quickly and the guy go to the hospital with a black eye than we prevent use of force because of fear and then somebody goes to the hospital with a serious injury or to the morgue, whether it be the suspect or somebody else. Yes. And I firmly believe we have let political correctness guide what we have the right to do under the Constitution and state and statutory law. And I think if we could get back to that and have sheriff, it's going to start, personally, I believe it's going to start with sheriffs, right? Because they're elected.
Yes.
And they are not at the will of a city council or city mayor or something like that. And I think once you get sheriffs, which they have been for the past few years, they're standing up and they're doing the right thing for their people. Now we have to find a way to get chiefs to go, hey man, you're a chief, which means you probably have at least 20 years in, so you have a retirement. You know what I mean? Probably more like 30 years. And now you're and
you can make the right decision.
Yes. And if it costs you your job, somebody else will hire you. Or go do something else. Enjoy your retirement, man. And I don't know how we push that out. And I think it would be through, I don't want to say education, because chiefs are going to be like, oh, I have 4 master's degrees and I have it. I get it.
Yeah.
But man, why don't we take a look back at what our authority actually is and understand the Constitution of the United States and what our job truly is as police officers. Some guys get mad at me when I tell them this. It's like, my job as a cop is not to generate revenue for the government. My job is to protect people, right? And if I don't go and write tickets, guess what? It's not going to affect freaking me. It's not going to affect you. It may have an effect on traffic at the initial point, but once we start doing traffic enforcement and verbal warnings, right? We can get back to the core, but we need strong men to do that. And if we don't, we're going to end up in a way worse place than we are now. And I firmly believe, man, that it's going to take, I don't want it to take another 9/11 because I think that's going to be far superior than anything we've ever seen in this country. I think our next 9/11 is going to be probably some of the worst experiences we've ever seen, right? But these guys have to stand up and go, hey, you know what? You paid me to do a job. This is within the guidelines of my job. And if you don't like it, hire somebody else. And when that goes bad, you're going to pay the consequences. Not going to be me, you know? And when the citizens of the county or the city or the state start getting injured or killed and crime skyrockets, not going to answer to me. They're going to answer to you, you know, as the city council or county manager, whatever it is. We need strong men. And unfortunately, strong men are in leadership roles are either misconstrued as jerks, aggressive, you know, whatever, non-tactful. Well, you don't know how to talk to people. It's like, no, man, I'm direct. You know, I'm sorry. There are times where I need to tell you how it is. And if that offends you, maybe you're the wrong line of work. You know, we're in a career where we deal with really bad things we see every day. And sometimes I don't have the time to argue with you. You know? But it's got to change. You know, I mean, when you were testing in 91 or 91, how many people were at the testing process?
Oh man, back then we had, it was about 1,500. For a 50 class. Class of 50. And now they can't, having trouble filling.
You can't fill a school cafeteria for 40 positions. You know, it's the same with me. When I tested, man, Casa Grande's a little town. Back then it was 25,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
I remember going to the high school cafeteria and it was packed. And that
Mhm.
was one of like 3 nights they were doing the
Mhm.
written testing.
Mm-hmm.
You had hundreds of people testing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, right before I left, it's like, hey man, yeah, we're holding testing this week. We got like 19 dudes showing up for the PT test.
Yeah.
How many positions? Oh,
Yeah.
like 7. Okay, so we'll get 1 or 2 guys out of that.
Yeah.
And it's the
crazy.
state of law enforcement, man.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to do this job because all they've seen is weak leaders not stand up for the
Mhm.
people.
Mm-hmm.
So, but hopefully it changes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, man, it sounds like you've had an amazing career, and I have to say, going back to like that night you had that experience where that thank you. Like, think of how many guys go through an entire career and don't experience that. And then you had also the team perfectly performing. Like, that is something that generally speaking across the country, yeah, it happens a lot, but on a department level,
Yeah.
like, you just don't see that very often. I mean, it's rare, and it's I think it's a testament not only to you but your department of the leadership that you did have, and the leadership that you gave, and you might not see, your own version of it, but I think it sounds like you had a great role the time that you were there.
I did, man. My career has been phenomenal. Like, I will never, there would be some things I'd change, right?
Mhm.
Like, some of it would include my family, like,
Yeah.
more family time.
Mhm.
100%. I am at fault for some of not that I have a lot of problems now, but some of the problems that I was a workaholic.
Mhm.
I put my job over my family a lot.
Mhm.
But overall, man, I had a phenomenal career, and I've been very fortunate, dude. And I've been very fortunate to the point where I've experienced a lot of things that, for a guy that worked in rural Arizona,
Mhm.
I've got the chance to do some amazing. I've met some of the world's best people
Mhm.
from hosting training and just somehow being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And that experience kind of guided me to look and think about how I wanted my guys to be.
Mhm.
Right. I'll end, I think we got to end this here pretty quick, but I'm going to end it on this note, man. I was given the chance by a dude, one of the best dudes in the world, right? Owner of this company.
Mhm.
And he saw something and he gave me a chance to work with him.
Mhm.
And I don't deserve to be there. I'm the weak link in that chain, right? The team that he's built are the best crew of dudes I've ever seen.
Mhm.
And they all come from a specific community,
Mhm.
right? And to have the opportunity to see them work together, not just as peers teaching, but have the chance to have been here and teach some of their dudes in the way they operate. I saw the excellence and I was like, that's what I want my guys to be. And for the guys that I work with or worked with that are listening, that are going to probably talk shit to me about this, make fun of me and stuff. That's where my drive came from. I saw that excellence from this organization that Dave produced, and I wanted my guys to be that good. And I had that opportunity to see that where my team may not have ever had that chance, right? So I would bring that. Yeah, I pushed them hard, man. I pushed them hard. Could I have been better at things? Absolutely. That's what experience is called, right?
Right.
We had gained experience after we needed that experience. But the opportunity to see those individuals and become part of this team up here at Rogers Rangers and see what excellence looks like, that's what I wanted these guys to be. And I will say, I probably didn't have enough time to get there to make them that good. But they're pretty goddamn good.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of them. And they're my guys, and
Yeah.
they're going to take that way further than I ever got them. But it was because of who I met that made me who I was, to see what excellence looks like, to push those guys to be better.
Yeah.
And that's I wanted the best team.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted the 2000 Patriots, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wanted that Super Bowl team.
Yeah.
You know, and what we did with our budget and our equipment and stuff like that was pretty goddamn amazing.
Yeah.
You know,
That's awesome.
those guys they accomplished some pretty amazing things.
Well, I'm sure they don't see you as the weakest link. I can assure you of that.
I'm talking about the Rogers Rangers guys, man.
Yeah, humbling for you to say that for yourself, but I can assure you that. So, man, it's been great to have you here. I love you, man. Anything you need, you let us know, and I would love to talk to you more in the future about maybe looking at doing some more stuff, talking about leadership and so forth.
Absolutely,
because I think that's definitely needed.
Yes, I agree.
And yeah,
Mike, from me, thank you for the opportunity, man. I love you, dude. You're unique, dude. You're an awesome individual, and I appreciate you more than you'll ever know.
Oh, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you, man.
For sure.
Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.